There's a truth you've sensed for a long time, but the world around you has convinced you to ignore it. That deep down, your mind holds a level of control, power, and potential that no system, no expert, and no institution has ever fully explained. You've followed techniques, consumed books, applied routines, and yet something still feels incomplete. You upgrade your apps, your wardrobe, even your diet. But what about the one system you live inside every moment of your life? The one machine that defines how you see, how you think, how you act, and ultimately what you become. That system is your mind. And today you're going to learn how to rewire it. Not over months, not through endless repetition, but in minutes. This is not a fantasy. This is the Quantum Limitless Method. This method isn't just about motivation or positive thinking. It's not about hacking productivity or using vague affirmations. This is something different. It's rooted in real neuroscience, modern quantum principles, and a deep understanding of how identity, belief, and consciousness actually operate beneath the surface. You won't be given theory, you'll be given tools. You won't be told what's possible, you'll be shown how to access it. Step by step, word by word. This experience is structured to do more than just educate you. It's designed to recode the way you process reality. Each chapter unlocks a deeper layer of your internal operating system. You'll move from understanding your subconscious programming to spotting hidden loops of self-sabotage, to activating fast neural rewiring techniques, and finally to embodying a new identity that isn't theoretical but visible in your thoughts, actions, and results. You're going to discover why your current patterns are not your fault, how identity shapes your decisions faster than logic ever could, and how to install new beliefs, new emotional set points, and new behaviors with precision. You'll learn how to interrupt mental scripts that no longer serve you and activate a state of limitless awareness, clarity, and momentum on command. And here's what makes this even more powerful. This process doesn't require perfect discipline, lifelong effort, or becoming someone you're not. Instead, it removes the clutter, the noise, the programming that never belonged to you in the first place. You're not becoming something artificial, you're reclaiming who you were always capable of being. If you've ever felt stuck, if you've ever sensed that your potential was trapped behind layers of hesitation, fear, or confusion, this is your moment. Not because this video will change you, but because the real you is going to start coming online. The Quantum Limitless Method is not about temporary motivation. It's about permanent mental architecture. Once you install this foundation, you'll operate differently. You'll think differently, and you'll start creating outcomes that look and feel impossible to others, but inevitable to you. So settle in. Take a breath. Because the version of you that's watching this right now, it's already shifting. Let's begin. You've been taught to believe that your mind is mostly a mystery. Something fragile, easily overwhelmed, difficult to control. You've been told to seek help from others, to chase productivity tips, to manage stress, to cope, to survive. But no one ever showed you what your mind truly is. A programmable, adaptable, high-speed, self-generating system capable of operating far beyond what current society acknowledges. This isn't theory, it's function. Your brain isn't just reactive. It's predictive. It's not static. It's plastic. It's not a computer. It's a living network that rewires itself every single time you think, feel, focus, or choose. And the most powerful part? Most of this rewiring happens without your conscious input. That's not a flaw, that's a feature. Let's break this down. Right now, as you listen, your brain is adjusting itself to new information. Micropathways are forming or dissolving depending on what you focus on. Every time you experience something, whether through emotion, thought, or action, your mind is deciding what to strengthen and what to ignore. This process is called neuroplasticity, and it's the real reason why change is possible and often faster than you expect. But here's where the story gets wild. What you focus on the most becomes your default circuitry. If you think stressful thoughts consistently, you're not just experiencing stress, you're installing stress as your baseline. If you feel unworthy, the emotion itself reinforces the perception, and the perception becomes a belief. The belief becomes identity. And identity, that's where all your decisions are born. Now, here's the part they never taught you. Your identity is programmable. You weren't born believing what you believe. You weren't born second-guessing yourself, fearing failure, or repeating self-sabotage loops. Those were installed by repetition, by emotion, and often by environments you had no control over. But here's the kicker. Just as these ideas were installed, they can be uninstalled and replaced. This is the forbidden power, the truth that your reality is not determined by external forces, but by internal programming that can be changed faster than most people are willing to accept. And the real reason this truth is hidden? Because systems of control, whether societal, economic, or even psychological, don't want individuals operating from full autonomy. Autonomy breaks cycles. Autonomy questions patterns. Autonomy unlocks freedom, not just financially or emotionally, but existentially. Your entire life has been filtered through a story. Not the truth, a story. That story was written by others and installed early. And until you learn to question that story at its root, you keep reinforcing it, even when you're trying to grow. Growth doesn't happen by pushing harder. Growth happens when you pull out the faulty script and replace it with one that aligns with who you actually are. This doesn't take years. It doesn't take struggle. It takes awareness, then repetition, then activation. And here's where we start to reclaim that power. From this point forward, we are going to explore and install an entirely different way of thinking. We'll uncover the quantum field of thought, the dimension that connects intention with transformation. We'll disrupt loops you didn't know you were running. And we'll reprogram emotional triggers that used to run your life into triggers that now create action, clarity, and certainty. Let's be direct about this. Your life, every result you've created or failed to create, has been shaped by unconscious patterns running on autopilot. But now, you're about to learn how to break that autopilot. Now that you understand your mind is not fixed, not fragile, not locked in, it's time to expand into what's really possible. Next, we will explore the layer of your identity that's more than personality or belief. It's the part that connects directly to the field, the quantum layer, where thought meets energy and energy meets reality. You've now seen that your mind isn't static. It's adaptable, programmable, and infinitely more powerful than you were told. But that's only the beginning. Your mind doesn't just respond to your inner thoughts. It's connected to a much larger system, one that links your internal state to external results. Let's talk about the field. This isn't a metaphor. This is a measurable, observable, energetic matrix that surrounds you, connects you, and responds to your thoughts, emotions, and focus. It's not mysticism. It's science. Quantum physics has proven that particles behave differently when observed. That means consciousness affects matter. You are not outside of this principle. You are a living, breathing example of it. You influence reality not just through action, but through frequency, through intention, through coherent thought. When your internal energy aligns, the field around you shifts to match. And when that coherence breaks, chaos often follows. Now here's the kicker most never hear. The field is responding whether you know it or not. Every belief you hold, every story you repeat to yourself, every emotion you store in your nervous system is feeding signals into this invisible framework. And those signals don't just echo back as feelings. They manifest as outcomes. Real, tangible outcomes. But there's one requirement: clarity. The field doesn't respond to confusion. It doesn't respond to fear signals mixed with ambition. It doesn't respond to declarations you don't believe. It responds to coherence when your identity, your thoughts, your emotions, and your expectations align in one direction. Let's break that down. Identity is the root. If you think abundance but identify as someone who's always scraping by, the signal is mixed. If you want connection but carry emotional walls, the signal is blocked. If you try to affirm success while still fearing judgment, the signal collapses. You're not broken. You're out of sync. And regaining coherence is not a mystery. It starts with understanding how to realign your energetic output. The quantum field is impersonal. It doesn't respond to worthiness. It doesn't reward struggle. It reflects vibration, that's it. And this is where your greatest leverage lives. Thoughts alone aren't strong enough. Emotions by themselves aren't stable enough. But when your thoughts match your emotions, match your expectations, you create resonance. And resonance is the frequency that moves mountains. Resonance sends a clear message, commands reality not from force, but from alignment. Most people live in contradiction. They say they want clarity, but they tolerate noise. They say they want success, but they feel undeserving. They say they're trying, but inside they're waiting to be rescued. The field doesn't hear what you say. It amplifies what you feel, especially what you feel consistently. So let's ask the real question. Who are you in the field? Not what role you play, not what mask you wear. Who are you at the frequency level? Are you emitting trust or tension? Are you radiating vision or just reacting? Are you carrying coherence or contradiction? This isn't about being positive. It's about being clean. Clean signals create fast results. Mixed signals delay or destroy them. Now comes the power move. You can change your signal in minutes. Once you become aware of what you're feeding into the field, you can choose differently. You can choose to feel before seeing, to embody before achieving, to broadcast belief before proof. This is not fake it till you make it. This is align it until it reflects. And once you start doing this intentionally, the field becomes predictable. Not because you control outcomes, but because you control your input. And input determines experience. You're already in the field. You've always been in it. But now you know how to work with it instead of against it. Next, we will turn inward again, not to philosophy, but to physical transformation. Because while the quantum field responds to energy, your brain responds to thought. And your thoughts aren't just floating ideas. They shape your brain like a sculptor with clay. The field reflects your frequency. But your frequency is often dictated by your brain's wiring. And here's where the science gets unavoidable. Your thoughts are not passive. They are physical. Every time you think, neurons fire. Every time neurons fire, pathways strengthen. Every time pathways strengthen, habits form, mental, emotional, behavioral. This process is called Hebbian learning. Neurons that fire together, wire together. Which means your most repeated thoughts become the most dominant circuits in your brain. Not because they're true, but because they're familiar. Let's be clear. Familiar isn't safe. Familiar isn't useful. Familiar is just what you've repeated the most. Think of your mind like a landscape. Every thought is a footstep. Walk the same route every day and you create a path. Walk it for years and it becomes a trench. That trench becomes your default response. Not because it's best, but because it's fastest. So here's the million-dollar question. What trenches have you carved into your own mind? If self-doubt shows up automatically? If overthinking kicks in without permission? If procrastination happens before you realize it? You're not broken. You're patterned. And that's exactly what we're going to shift. Neural alchemy is the process of transforming those patterns. And here's the truth that should light a fire under you. Your brain is always changing. Right now, it's adapting to what you're learning. The only difference between stuck and free is whether you're repeating what disempowers you or what empowers you. So how do we flip the pattern? It starts with interrupting the loop. Let's say your default is hesitation. A task shows up, and instead of acting, your brain flashes an old circuit. What if I fail? That single thought triggers a biochemical response, adrenaline, cortisol, which your body recognizes as stress. That physical feedback reinforces the emotion, which reinforces the thought. Now you're not just thinking failure, you're feeling it. And that's how loops lock in. But you can break the loop. The moment you interrupt the thought, even briefly, you stop the neural signal. And if you replace that thought with a high-energy, forward-moving one, you start firing new neurons. Keep doing it, and the brain rewires itself. This isn't mindset fluff, this is how neuroplasticity works. But the power of this alchemy comes from consistency. You can't just think one new thought and expect a full transformation. You have to train your brain like you train a muscle. Repetition, intensity, precision. That's why people struggle. They try new thoughts but keep feeling old emotions. Emotion is the glue. If your new thought isn't backed by energy, the brain doesn't lock it in. So here's the secret formula. Thought plus emotion plus repetition equals rewiring. This is how you go from reacting to creating. From anxiety to clarity. From stuck to limitless. You don't need a perfect mindset. You need an updated system. And your brain is not resisting, it's waiting. Waiting for you to show it a new way. You've learned that you can rewire your mind. Now next we will accelerate that rewiring by tapping into a powerful time-sensitive window, a 90-second opening that your brain gives you to shift deep mental patterns before they lock in. You now understand that your thoughts physically shape your brain, and that repetition, emotion, and intensity combine to form the building blocks of your internal programming. But what if there was a specific, measurable window of time, a biological opportunity, during which your brain becomes most malleable? That window exists, and it lasts for just 90 seconds. This is the neurological gap between emotional trigger and full-body reaction. In this brief span, your nervous system is flooded with signals, but your identity hasn't yet fully attached meaning to the experience. And that, right there, is your opening, your portal to rapid rewiring. Here's how it works. Every time you experience an emotion, fear, anger, resistance, even excitement, your body reacts chemically. Hormones are released. Your pulse shifts. Your muscles prepare to either engage or retreat. This all happens almost instantly, but the full emotional cascade, the part where your identity locks in and your brain commits to a narrative, takes roughly 90 seconds. If you act within this gap intentionally, you can disrupt the reaction before it cements into your circuitry. You can literally overwrite the emotional signature. But the key is speed and presence. Let's put it in context. A challenge appears. Your normal response is hesitation. You feel it rise. Your stomach tightens. Your breath shortens. You're 20 seconds in, still within the window. If you wait, that reaction will hardwire just like it always has. But if you step in with a different thought, a pattern break, a physical action, you tell your brain, this is not the same story. Now the rewiring begins. The moment you choose something different in that 90-second zone, your brain takes notice. It detects the novelty. It flags the event as significant. And it starts recording a new pathway. This isn't about suppressing emotions. It's about interrupting the way you assign meaning to them. Think of it like this. Emotion is the ignition. Action is the steering wheel. You can't always control what sparks you, but you can decide where to drive it. And the faster you grab that wheel, the less likely your old loops are to take over. This rule applies across every pattern. Fear, doubt, self-sabotage. You don't need to analyze where it came from. You need to recognize it, then redirect it quickly, decisively, without apology. Now let's refine this even further. The 90-second rule is not about logic. It's about energy. Thought alone isn't enough. You need to shift your state physically or emotionally during that window. That could mean a change in posture, a new statement out loud, a powerful breath sequence, a mental visualization of your future self stepping in and taking over. These micro shifts may seem small, but in the language of your nervous system, they're massive. Because the brain doesn't respond to words, it responds to state. Shift the state and the belief begins to bend. The more often you do this, the faster the pattern collapses. What used to be a 3-hour mental spiral can become a 3-minute realignment. Then a 3-second pivot. That's the goal, not to be perfect, but to make rewiring so fast and automatic that the old loops simply don't survive. And this isn't about forcing positivity. It's about giving your brain a new sensory experience. One that tells your body, we're safe, we're in control, we are choosing. Let's be direct. Most of your self-sabotage isn't about logic, it's about momentum. Old reactions show up, and before you even realize it, the loop has taken over. But when you apply the 90-second rule with presence and power, you change the trajectory of your thoughts before they become your reality. And with each successful interruption, your brain starts updating your identity. This is no longer who I am. This is how I now respond. You don't need years of affirmations to believe it. You need one small break in the pattern, repeated consistently, backed by state and action. That's when the identity begins to shift. You've just learned how to step between the stimulus and the response. Now next we will uncover what's hiding inside your current reality. 3 invisible loops that are secretly driving your behavior, results, and emotional baseline. Every day you make choices. You feel emotions. You react. You explain. You seek. But beneath that constant stream of thought and action, something else is running the show. Hidden loops. Silent, automatic circuits that shape nearly everything you do. Most people never see them, but they feel the effects. Frustration, stuckness, inconsistency, doubt. These loops are not random. They were formed early, reinforced daily, and now operate silently in the background. Until they're exposed and interrupted, they run your life on repeat, no matter how much motivation you pile on top. Let's bring them into the light. Loop number 1. The identity loop. This is the deepest. It's the story you tell yourself about who you are, what you're capable of, and what you're not allowed to experience. You think it's just who I am, but it's not. It's a pattern of thoughts and beliefs installed without your consent. Every time you try to grow, your identity loop checks for permission. And if the new action contradicts the old story, your brain resists. Not because it's afraid, but because it's programmed. It says, "This doesn't match who we've been. Abort." Until this loop is disrupted, new goals feel heavy, unnatural, exhausting, because your identity is silently pulling the brakes. Loop number 2. The emotional loop. You have emotional set points, just like a thermostat. These are the default emotional states your nervous system believes are safe, even if they're painful. If your emotional loop is calibrated to frustration or scarcity, you'll unconsciously recreate those feelings over and over. You may have noticed this: a win happens, and you suddenly feel anxious, or things go smoothly, and you find a way to sabotage them. That's the emotional loop resetting itself. It's not you failing. It's your nervous system returning to what it knows. This loop thrives on familiarity. But once you understand it's not who you are, just what you've been running, you can recalibrate the set point. That's where freedom begins. Loop number 3. The behavior loop. This is the one most people chase without success. You try to change what you do without changing what you believe or how you feel. But the behavior loop is always downstream. It's driven by the other two. Your habits, rituals, responses, they all originate from your identity and emotional coding. That's why surface-level strategies don't stick. The behavior loop is just the echo, not the cause. So how do you break all three? You bring awareness, disruption, and reprogramming in that order. Start by catching the loop in real time. This is the identity loop trying to keep me small. That awareness alone breaks 30% of the pattern. Next, disrupt it. Physically, mentally, emotionally. Use the 90-second rule. Use movement. Use contradiction. Do anything that interrupts the rhythm. Then reprogram with precision. Step into a new thought, a new posture, a new action. Not because you're forcing it, but because you're installing it. These 3 loops are not destiny. They're defaults. And defaults can be changed. Once you see the pattern, you no longer have to be it. Now that you've exposed the loops controlling your mind, next we will unlock the move that breaks you free. The one method that acts like a mental jailbreak and begins your permanent escape from your default wiring. You've now seen the 3 hidden loops: identity, emotion, and behavior that silently guide your life like an invisible operating system. These loops don't ask for permission. They run the moment your brain encounters familiarity. And the more familiar the pattern, the harder it fights to preserve itself. But here's the truth: your loops are not the cage. Your inability to interrupt them is. The real prison isn't built from fear or failure. It's built from automation. From reactions you didn't choose. From responses you never questioned. You're not trapped because you're weak. You're trapped because you've been running code that was never meant to serve your future self. Breaking this cage doesn't start with analysis. It starts with interruption. A conscious, deliberate act that jolts your mind out of its default pathway and forces it to look somewhere new. Think of your neural pathways like grooves in a record. The needle drops, and the music plays. If you don't shift the needle, the same track plays again. That's how your mental cage works: same thought, same feeling, same behavior, repeat. But when you introduce a sharp disruption, something unexpected, bold, even jarring, the needle skips. And in that skip, you get access to the blank space. That space is where change is made. Here's where most people go wrong. They try to think their way out. But thinking doesn't interrupt the cage. It strengthens it. Because most thoughts come from the same loop that's trapping you. You don't break a loop with logic. You break it with state change. Let's break that down. A state change is any shift in your physical, emotional, or energetic baseline. It's not about being calm or hyped. It's about becoming different than you were seconds ago. It's the instant disruption that signals to your nervous system. Something new is happening. That could be a powerful breath, a sharp exhale, a change in posture, a sudden statement spoken out loud, a mental image that's so charged it overrides your current emotion. These are not tricks. They're state shifts. And the moment they occur, your loop loses its grip. Now let's get tactical. The fastest way to break the cage is to introduce a disruptive command. A phrase, motion, or anchor that overrides the loop by inserting new identity. This isn't about mantras. It's about decisive, emotionally backed interruption. For example, your mind begins spiraling into doubt. You feel the familiar signal. Before the loop can complete, you fire the command, "Not my path." You square your shoulders. You reset your posture. You take one forward step, physically or metaphorically, and the pattern halts. That interruption opens the door. The key is to catch it early. If you wait too long, the cage locks. But if you act within the early signals, hesitation, fatigue, emotional drop, your brain rewires instantly. It rewires based on what happens in the moment after the pattern starts. That moment is your weapon. Now there's one more layer. Breaking the cage is not just about stopping the pattern. It's about replacing it. You have to fill the void fast. If you don't, the brain defaults to the old code. That's why every interruption must be paired with activation. Activation of who you want to be. Activation of the response you wish was your default. That's where real freedom lives, not just in stopping the loop, but in building a better one. Let's be brutally clear here. Your current identity isn't too weak to break free. It's just been too quiet, too passive, too practiced at the wrong pattern. But inside you, there's already a version that knows how to override. That version is built through these micro-interruptions. Each time you break the cage, you're showing your mind, this is no longer acceptable. And eventually, the loops give up. Because they can't survive repeated contradiction. You've broken dozens of mental cages before without knowing it. You made one bold decision. You said something different. You took an action when your old self wanted to retreat. The only difference now is that you're doing it on purpose. Breaking the cage once changes your day. Breaking it consistently changes your identity. You've just activated the concept of interruption. Next, we will distill that power even further into a method that elite performers use every day. Just 5 seconds. One decision. And the entire emotional state flips. You've now tasted the power of interruption, the ability to recognize, stop, and override old patterns before they take control. But in high-stakes moments, you don't always have time for reflection. You need something immediate, something exact, something that works under pressure. That's where the 5-second disruption method comes in. This technique is used by top-tier athletes, elite performers, decision-makers, and high-stress professionals who cannot afford to be trapped by hesitation, fear, or emotional spirals. And it's simpler than you think. Here's the core principle. Emotion follows action, not the other way around. In other words, you don't wait to feel ready, you act, and the feeling follows. But to break that first micro-moment of resistance, you must shrink the gap between awareness and movement. 5 seconds is all you get. Let's map it. The trigger happens. You feel it, hesitation, fear, self-doubt. That's your signal. At that exact moment, count backward. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 inch, then move. Not think. Move. Speak. Type. Stand up. Walk forward. Take any action that contradicts the old response. The countdown isn't just a gimmick. It's a neurological pattern breaker. By counting backward, you interrupt the thought spiral and shift control from your emotional brain to your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for conscious decision-making. This brief countdown acts like a mental wedge. It gives you just enough space to bypass the old identity and activate the new one. Why 5 seconds? Because after 5 seconds of hesitation, your mind starts building a case for why you should stay the same. It floods you with reasons, stories, and fears. The loop begins. If you don't interrupt it by then, you're already negotiating with the old self, and the old self always wins negotiations. So the window is tight. 5 seconds. That's the decision threshold. Now let's apply it. You're about to make a call you've been avoiding. Your body tightens. Your mind whispers all the usual reasons to wait. You catch it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 inch. You dial. The loop is broken. You're staring at a blank page. Perfectionism starts whispering. You count down. You type the first sentence. Momentum takes over. You're doubting yourself before speaking up in a room. You hear the hesitation. You count backward. You speak. Your voice carries power. Every time you do this, you build a neural association between discomfort and action. Eventually, that becomes your default. The moment fear arises, you move. And here's the wild part: the fear doesn't go away because you fought it. It goes away because you moved before it could grow. This method also works for emotional regulation. You feel anger rising. Normally, it would explode, but you catch it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 inch. You redirect. You breathe. You take control before the emotion takes you. This technique isn't about pretending to be fearless. It's about teaching your nervous system that hesitation isn't the boss. Action is. The reason elite performers use this method is because high-level success doesn't come from making perfect decisions. It comes from making fast, aligned ones. The faster you override the loop, the faster your identity upgrades. And here's the bonus. Every time you disrupt an old pattern within those 5 seconds, you not only win the moment, you train your subconscious to respond differently next time. Do this consistently and you start trusting yourself. Not because everything is perfect, but because you know you'll act even when it's hard. Now let's be brutally honest. Your old self thrives in hesitation. It loves the delay. It survives in waiting. But once you compress the gap between resistance and action, the old self has nowhere to live. 5 seconds. 1 countdown. Permanent rewiring. You've now mastered the method that elite performers use to override hesitation on command. Next, we will shift focus to something deeper, not action, but the invisible beliefs underneath them. We're going to begin removing the hidden thought viruses that silently sabotage even your best efforts. You now hold the power to interrupt hesitation in 5 seconds or less. You've used tools that elite performers rely on daily, but that's only one layer of transformation. The next layer is invisible to most people, yet it affects every result you try to create. It's not about action. It's about infection. Because some of your beliefs were never yours to begin with. These are thought viruses. They aren't random negative ideas floating through your mind. They're coded programs, deeply embedded assumptions that have infected your decision-making, self-image, and perception of the world. They hide beneath the surface. They sound like your voice, but they aren't your voice. Thought viruses are installed over time. They come from teachers, parents, media, trauma, peers, failure, repetition. And once installed, they don't just sit there, they operate. Silently, relentlessly, like malware running behind the scenes, draining your system. They disguise themselves as logic. They show up as phrases like, "People like me don't get to do that. I'll be ready once I fix a few things first. It's too late. I'm not good at that. That's just how I've always been." These phrases feel natural. They sound responsible. But they are viral code, carefully written by external influence and reinforced by emotion. The worst part? You don't question them, because you don't even know they're there. The first step is identification. Start by paying attention to your emotional spikes. Thought viruses often appear right before you shrink back from progress. You'll hear them most clearly right before you level up, you take a bold risk, you enter a new space, you break a pattern. Because the virus doesn't care about your goals, it cares about stability. It thrives in sameness. Anything unfamiliar feels like a threat to its survival. Now, here's where it gets precise. There are 3 primary categories of thought viruses. 1. Identity-based viruses. These whisper lies about who you are. They limit your worth, your capability, and your potential. They sound like, "I'm not that type of person. I've always struggled with this. That's just not in my personality." 2. Outcome-based viruses. These distort what's possible. They set ceilings that don't exist. They sound like, "That kind of success isn't realistic. It probably won't work anyway. Most people fail at that." 3. Effort-based viruses. These poison your relationship with challenge. They sound like, "It's too late to start. It's too hard for me. It's not worth the risk." Once you identify them, you'll start noticing how frequently they loop. They show up at decision points. They fill the gaps between intention and action. And they do it quietly, almost respectfully, as if they're trying to protect you. But they're not protecting you. They're containing you. So how do we eradicate them? Step 1. Isolate the voice. Say it out loud. When a thought virus appears, verbalize it. Not in shame, in clarity. "I just told myself I'm not ready." That separation makes the virus visible. Step 2. Interrogate the origin. Ask yourself, where did I learn this belief? Then ask, is that source qualified to decide my future? Most of the time, you'll find that the belief was installed by someone who was never living the life you want. Step 3. Contradict with energy. This is crucial. Do not simply say the opposite. Feel the opposite. Speak the opposite with emotional charge. For example, "I'm not ready" becomes, "I move before I'm ready, and I learn fast." But you don't whisper it. You own it. You inject it into your nervous system. Eradicating a thought virus doesn't happen by avoiding it. It happens by confronting it with energy stronger than the one that created it. And here's a truth most people avoid. You cannot outrun a belief you still agree with emotionally. You may want success, but if you feel unworthy, your emotional signature cancels out your intentions. You'll sabotage. You'll hesitate. You'll delay. But when you replace a thought virus with a high-voltage, identity-aligned belief, and you rehearse it consistently, your actions begin to shift without force. You don't have to stay motivated. You become aligned. You've now learned how to isolate, expose, and remove these silent saboteurs. Next, we will look at how these viruses even got installed in the first place, and why so many of your core beliefs were never chosen, just absorbed. The thought viruses you've just uncovered didn't randomly appear. They weren't accidents. They were installed. Not through a single moment of trauma or manipulation, but through repetition, influence, and passive absorption. You never consciously chose most of your beliefs. They were given to you and your brain accepted them. Here's how it works. The human brain is a pattern-seeking machine. From birth, it's wired to absorb, mimic, and store information. Not just facts, but emotional rules. Rules about safety, success, love, risk, expression, and value. And during the early years of your life, your brain operated like a sponge. Between the ages of 0 and 7, your brain was primarily in theta wave state, the same frequency used in hypnosis. This means every voice you heard, every reaction you witnessed, every emotional charge you experienced was logged as truth. Not because it was true, but because your brain hadn't developed filters yet. So when you heard "money doesn't grow on trees," or "be careful, that's dangerous," or "you always mess that up," you didn't analyze it. You absorbed it. You filed it under fact. And it didn't stop at childhood. The belief installation process continued through school, media, social interaction, and repeated outcomes. Each time something painful or negative occurred, and especially if it had emotion attached, the brain said, "Let's store this so we don't repeat it." That's how limiting beliefs become hardwired. Now let's go deeper. A belief isn't just a thought you keep thinking. It's a survival mechanism. Your brain installs beliefs to protect you, even when they limit you. Here's an example. Let's say you failed in public once. Your nervous system attached embarrassment to visibility. So now, every time you consider speaking up or being seen, your body triggers the warning, "Don't do it. Remember what happened last time." That becomes a belief. "I'm not good in front of people." You didn't choose that belief. Your brain did to avoid perceived pain. Beliefs are built in emotional moments. The more emotional charge, the faster the install. That's why negative experiences often feel more permanent than positive ones. The emotion attached to them was stronger. Here's where things get dangerous. Your brain doesn't require truth to create a belief. It only requires repetition or intensity. If you heard something enough times, or experienced it with enough emotion, it got installed. And once installed, your brain starts filtering reality through it. You don't see what's there. You see what your belief allows. This is called confirmation bias. You'll ignore data that contradicts your belief and highlight anything that confirms it. If you believe, "I'm not a leader," your mind will constantly spot examples where you hesitated, fumbled, or followed. It won't notice the times you inspired, led, or impacted. The belief filters the evidence. Here's the trap. The more evidence you find, the stronger the belief becomes. This creates a loop, a mental echo chamber. But now you know something most never learn. These beliefs were not approved by you. They were installed without consent. The power is in recognizing that you can now choose what stays and what goes. And the tool for replacing these beliefs is simple. Overwrite with intention and energy. You already began this process in the last chapter by identifying and rejecting the viruses. Now, you begin replacing them by reclaiming authorship. You don't just erase the code, you write new code, based on truth, not trauma. And it starts with a bold question. If I didn't choose this belief, why am I still living by it? Challenge the source. Rewrite the rule. Reinforce the new pattern. Now that you've learned how your beliefs were installed without permission, next we will replace them with upgraded neural scripts, intentional commands that elevate your thinking, your behavior, and your entire perception of possibility. You now understand how beliefs are installed, not by conscious decision, but through repeated influence, emotional intensity, and unfiltered absorption. You've also seen how these beliefs silently dictate your outcomes. But identifying and rejecting them isn't enough. There's a vacuum left behind. That space must be filled intentionally or the old programming returns. That's where neural scripts come in. A neural script is a deliberately constructed thought pattern that replaces default programming. It's not a motivational phrase. It's not a vague affirmation. It's a cognitive upgrade designed to rewire your baseline thoughts and direct your actions with clarity and power. This process is not theoretical. It's mechanical. Think of it like software. Your current neural patterns are running on old code. That code produces the same glitches: doubt, hesitation, procrastination. To change your output, you must install new code. Specific, repetitive, emotionally charged. Let's walk through how that works. Start with identity alignment. You don't create a neural script based on who you were. You base it on who you are becoming. This is future self architecture, building from where you're going, not where you've been. Here's the first mistake people make. They try to write a script that feels realistic. But realistic doesn't rewire. Emotionally activated does. For example, instead of saying, "I want to be confident," the neural script becomes, "I command presence when I speak, because that's who I am now." It's bold. It's precise. It's emotional. That's the frequency your brain understands. Now let's apply structure. A neural script must follow 4 rules. It's stated in the present tense. The brain doesn't respond to future-based language. "I will be" is ignored. "I am" gets encoded. It's emotionally loaded. Emotion is the signal booster. Without emotional charge, the brain doesn't prioritize the pattern. It's identity-driven. You're not describing an outcome, you're defining who you are. The mind builds behavior around identity. It's repeated during peak receptivity. Timing matters. Neural scripts are most effective when your brain is in a programmable state, early morning, late night, or directly after state change. Let's put this into action. You've identified a limiting belief. "I'm not good at speaking up." The replacement neural script could be, "I speak with impact, clarity, and zero apology, because my voice leads." You don't just say it. You feel it. You rehearse it until your nervous system starts believing it more than the old story. That's when shift begins. Repetition is key. Not just passive repetition, active, emotionally charged repetition. Think of your neural script like an upgrade download. You don't tap once and hope it installs. You keep pressing until the update completes. You install through energy and consistency. Now here's an advanced tactic. Pair your neural script with movement. Walk while saying it. Change posture. Speak it while standing in a power position. This creates multisensory imprinting, which speeds up the installation. The body memorizes the emotion faster when movement is involved. Here's what to expect when it's working. Your old thoughts will start to feel foreign. Doubt won't feel as convincing. The inner critic's voice will seem weaker, and you'll begin noticing small behavioral shifts without force. That's neural recoding in action. The script doesn't just change your thoughts. It alters your decisions, your standards, your reactions. And over time, your reality begins reflecting the new code. And this is the part that most people miss. Your outer world is a mirror of your inner script. If your neural script is laced with fear, hesitation, or scarcity, your life will echo it back. But once you shift the script to power, worth, clarity, and command, your environment starts rearranging to match. Now you're not hoping for success. You're expecting it. You're not begging for momentum. You're generating it. You've just installed your first high-power neural script. Next, we will step into the most radical application yet, instant identity shifting. Not months of trying. Not endless journaling. Just one clear question. Who do you want to be in the next 5 minutes? You've just activated the ability to shift identity on command, not in theory but in practice. You now know how to choose a new version of yourself and act from that place immediately. But there's a way to make that identity feel so real, so undeniable, that your nervous system accepts it before the world even catches up. This is where the future memory technique comes into play. Your brain doesn't know the difference between a real memory and an imagined one vividly experienced with emotion and repetition. That's not speculation. It's neuroscience. The same neural circuits fire whether you're recalling a past event or imagining a detailed future moment. And that gives you enormous leverage. You can use this mechanism to install memories of a future you, so vividly that your brain believes it's already happened. Once it believes that, your actions begin to align. You no longer try to become that version, you act from it because your nervous system already knows it. This isn't fantasy building. This is strategic identity reinforcement. Let's break it down step by step. Step 1. Design the memory. Choose a very specific future moment, one that represents a breakthrough. It could be the moment you finish a project, close a deal, stand on a stage, receive recognition, hit a financial milestone, or even walk into a new environment with absolute clarity. But don't make it vague. This isn't a vision board. This is a scene, time, location, sounds, emotions, dialogue, details. For example, I'm sitting at the corner table in the cafe downtown, sipping espresso. My phone buzzes. A message from my team. We just hit our highest launch numbers ever. I feel calm, proud, but not surprised. This is who I am now. Step 2. Engage all senses. See the colors. Feel the air. Hear the background sounds. Bring texture into the mental scene. The more sensory detail you bring into the future memory, the more deeply your brain embeds it. Step 3. Attach emotional weight. This is key. Your brain prioritizes emotionally intense memories. So amplify the feeling. Don't just see success. Feel what it's like to know, without doubt, that you've stepped into your next level. Step 4. Rehearse frequently. This is not a one-time visualization. This is repetition with purpose. Your job is to build evidence for your future self. Each time you visit the scene, you reinforce the neural pathway. After enough repetition, your subconscious begins adapting your behavior to fit the memory. Step 5. Speak from the memory. Use present tense language as if the memory already happened. Say things like, "Of course I handled it that way, that's what I do now." This eliminates the gap between who you were and who you're becoming. Why does this work? Because the brain is a pattern matching machine. When you feed it consistent evidence of a specific outcome, even imagined, it begins scanning your environment for ways to make that story true. It influences your decisions, your tone, your confidence, and your attention. You literally start moving through the world as if the future is already behind you. And here's the best part. Once your nervous system accepts a future memory as real, it starts rejecting behaviors that contradict it. If your future memory is built around clarity, decisiveness, and momentum, procrastination feels more unnatural. If it's built around abundance, scarcity-based thoughts feel dissonant. The future memory becomes your internal filter. Let's address the trap here. Don't confuse fantasy with future memory. You're not wishing for something. You're encoding it. A fantasy is something you hope for. A future memory is something you install. That distinction changes everything. Here's a truth you can't unsee. The people you admire most are already using this, whether they know it or not. They visualize wins. They act from future identity. They make decisions as if the outcome is inevitable. You now have the blueprint to do it on command. Now integrate this daily. Pick one moment. Build the memory. Practice it with clarity, emotion, and conviction. Even 90 seconds a day is enough to start changing your neural chemistry. You've now learned how to insert memories of your future into your current operating system. Next, we will compress time itself and collapse the gap between who you are today and the outcomes others think take years. You've just learned how to create future memories so vividly that your brain begins to believe them before they happen. But what if you could take it even further? What if you could compress the distance between your current reality and the future you've scripted? Not mentally, functionally. This is what time collapsing allows. Time collapsing is the process of eliminating the artificial delays between desire and result. Not by skipping steps, but by skipping hesitation, overthinking, waiting, and unnecessary detours. Traditional thinking says growth takes time, years, experience, accumulated effort. But that model is outdated. It's built on linear progression. What if, instead, growth was exponential and triggered by alignment, speed of action, and clarity of self? Let's get practical. Time doesn't cause transformation. Decisions do. Action compounds in proportion to clarity. When clarity is high, the time between intention and result shrinks. That's not philosophy, that's mechanics. Here's the core principle. You don't need more time, you need more aligned action inside the time you already have. Let's break the myth. Most people confuse preparation with progress. They spend months getting ready, researching, thinking it through, or waiting for the right moment. None of that moves the needle. What moves the needle is action that stems from identity-level certainty. That certainty comes when the decision to grow is non-negotiable. The moment that happens, you begin collapsing time. Let's look at an example. You could spend 5 years building confidence by reading, studying, attending workshops, and reflecting. Or you could spend 5 days making bold decisions, speaking your truth, and acting from your future identity. Same goal, radically different timelines. Why? Because the latter version doesn't wait for the conditions to be perfect. It becomes the condition. The acceleration comes from collapsing the internal gap, not external barriers. Now, let's address a core truth. You're not waiting for time. You're stalling because of fear. Fear of judgment. Fear of not being ready. Fear of failing in public. Fear of letting go of the identity that's been protecting you. Once those fears are exposed, they lose power. That's when speed returns. Now let's translate this into action. Step 1. Shorten the feedback loop. Act faster. Make decisions in days instead of months. Execute ideas within hours of conception. Collapse the cycle between insight and execution. Step 2. Remove permission seeking. Stop looking outward for approval. Most of your delays are disguised as research or feedback loops. When you already know what's aligned, do it. Step 3. Overcommit by design. Step into situations that require growth. Say yes to things that demand your next level. These are now or never triggers. They compress time through urgency. Step 4. Kill passive time. Audit your days. Eliminate low-value loops, mindless scrolling, emotional rehashing, excessive planning. Those steal months without you realizing it. Step 5. Anchor to future identity. Ask constantly, How does my future self move here? Then follow through, not in theory but in behavior. The truth is, results don't come slow because they have to, they come slow because you've been conditioned to think they should. You've been told to be patient, to wait your turn, to build over years. But alignment doesn't follow a calendar. The moment your identity, actions, and beliefs match, results start showing up fast. That's time collapsing. And here's what's wild. Once you experience this once, the first time you achieve something others said would take forever, your whole model of reality cracks open. You realize that pace is a choice, that delays are often self-imposed, that speed is available. You stop asking, how long will this take? And start asking, how aligned can I become? Because when you are fully aligned, speed becomes inevitable. You've just unlocked the ability to collapse timelines and compress growth into tight, powerful bursts. Next, we will explore something even more expansive, a new way to think about possibilities. A mental model that gives you access to multiple successful versions of yourself, all existing now. You've now experienced what it means to collapse time, to compress growth and outcomes by aligning identity, decision, and execution. But what if there's more than one version of your success? Not hypothetically, but functionally. This is the mental multiverse. Not science fiction. Not metaphor. This is a practical framework that allows you to access alternate outcomes of your life that already exist as potential, and to activate them through aligned focus. Here's the truth. Every decision you've ever made created a path. Each action reinforced one version of you, while leaving countless others unexplored. But those versions didn't vanish. They exist as dormant neural potential, and you can access them. Let's define this clearly. Your brain stores possibilities as pathways. If you've ever considered becoming something, a speaker, a founder, a creator, a strategist, your mind has already mapped that route. It didn't disappear because you didn't take it. It simply faded behind stronger, more reinforced paths. The mental multiverse is the recognition that you are not a single personality. You are a range of potentials. Which version you activate depends on what you believe, rehearse, and focus on. Now, let's make this actionable. Step 1. Identify a version of you that already succeeded. This is a mental archetype. The version that already hit the milestone you want today. This isn't fantasy. It's targeted projection. Who is that you? How does that version walk into a room? What do they tolerate? How do they speak to themselves under pressure? What do they ignore that you currently obsess over? Step 2. Collapse the gap between you and that version. This is not just visualization. This is behavioral alignment. Start by observing the decisions they make, then make them. Immediately, not aspirationally. If the successful version of you wakes early, trains discipline, leads directly, and filters energy, then you mirror it. You don't wait until it feels right. You do it to make it right. Step 3. Use memory rehearsal, not imagination. When you activate this version, rehearse it as if it already happened. Speak in post-experience language. That version of me handled it exactly how I was meant to. No resistance, just clarity. Your mind can't argue with an event it believes already occurred. That's why memory rehearsal is more powerful than wishful visualization. Step 4. Install physical anchors. Connect that version to a physical cue. A ring, bracelet, watch, scent, or gesture. Every time you see or use it, shift into that parallel version. The anchor signals your nervous system. Step into the other timeline. This trains your mind to switch gears rapidly, from default self to elevated self. Now here's the breakthrough idea. There is no single true version of you. There is only the version you reinforce most often. Your current self is just the most rehearsed self, not the most real. That means every moment you align to a higher version, you increase the probability of that path becoming dominant. This is not metaphysical randomness. This is statistical reinforcement. Here's where it gets even more empowering. The more often you access a successful version of you, especially in emotionally charged moments, the more your brain begins discarding identities that don't match. It begins pruning away beliefs and behaviors that contradict the path you've chosen. The result? Less friction, less doubt, less negotiation with the old you. Now you're not just working toward change. You're becoming the attractor of it. And this is the real power of the mental multiverse, not to fantasize, but to embody faster than the world expects. You've now activated the framework that lets you access alternate successful outcomes of yourself. Next, we will snap your perception into a new lens entirely, 3 core quantum shifts that reprogram how you interpret challenge, success, and failure itself. You've now entered the multiverse, not as theory but as practice. You've accessed the version of yourself that's already succeeded and made decisions from their lens. But to make this permanent, to fully sustain transformation, your core interpretations must shift. This isn't about mindset. This is about perception mechanics. There are 3 quantum shifts that, once made, permanently alter how you experience time, effort, and failure. These aren't attitude tweaks. They're reality upgrades. When these shifts become your standard, the pace and shape of your entire life begin to change. Fast. Let's start with the first. Shift 1. From linear growth to quantum leaps. Most people see progress as a staircase. One step, then another, then another. But that model is outdated. In the quantum model, progress is not sequential, it's energetic. Growth doesn't require 1,000 tiny wins. It requires one internal breakthrough, repeated with consistency. It doesn't have to take 5 years. It can take one aligned quarter, one aligned week, one aligned hour, and the leap is real. Linear thinking says, let's build slowly. Quantum thinking says, let's activate now, and let the results reflect the level, not the ladder. When this shift clicks, you stop waiting for milestones. You become the milestone. Shift 2. From outcome obsession to frequency alignment. Most people chase goals. They obsess over when it will happen, how it will happen, and whether they're behind. This obsession kills momentum. Why? Because it's rooted in lack. When your attention is fixed on what you don't yet have, your energy drops. But when your focus shifts to how you're showing up, your frequency, the field responds faster. Your reality mirrors your energetic tone, not your to-do list. Quantum alignment is not about chasing. It's about tuning. And once you're tuned to the identity that matches your desired outcomes, you don't chase. You attract, decide, and refine. This is why some people seem to move effortlessly. It's not effortlessness. It's alignment. Shift 3. From failure as threat to failure as signal. In traditional models, failure is danger. It's evidence you did something wrong. But in the quantum model, failure is data. It's not personal. It's directional. Every misstep is not a judgment. It's an instruction. It says, shift here, refocus there, strengthen this. That's all. The emotional charge around failure fades when you see it for what it is, calibration, not punishment. When this shift lands, you no longer spiral when things wobble. You adjust. You refine. You pivot fast. Because failure is no longer identity threatening. It's identity strengthening. These 3 shifts work like lenses. Once installed, everything you look at changes. You don't just think bigger, you see bigger. You stop reacting to outcomes. You start steering them. You no longer say, I need more time. You say, I need more alignment. You don't dread the wobble. You use it as a directional upgrade. When these shifts integrate fully, your energy stabilizes. You stop swinging between high and low states. You operate from center, calm, clear, effective. And that stability creates momentum, because your nervous system stops flinching at resistance. And without that internal braking, your velocity increases naturally. You've now locked in the 3 paradigm shifts that eliminate slow growth, external obsession, and fear-based hesitation. Next, we will apply this new energetic frequency to your emotional world, using thought as a frequency tuner to control how you feel, think, and respond with surgical precision. You've now adopted a completely new lens, one where growth happens in quantum leaps, not slow stair steps, where outcomes follow frequency, not desperation, and where failure becomes a signal, not a threat. Now it's time to weaponize those shifts inside your emotional system. This is where thought tuning comes in. Emotions are not just reactions, they're frequencies, signals, vibrational states that influence everything from your clarity to your decisions, your language, and your momentum. And what most people never realize is this: you can tune those frequencies directly, consciously, fast. This isn't about being positive. That's surface. This is about selecting your internal station like you would a radio dial, using thought to access elevated emotional states regardless of external conditions. Let's break this down with total clarity. Your thoughts don't just describe your experience. They generate your emotional state. Every thought you hold with attention sends an electrical impulse across your brain's neural network. That impulse doesn't exist in isolation. It produces chemical reactions, neurotransmitters, hormones, physical feelings. Those become the emotional tone of your entire system. When you think a low-frequency thought like guilt, fear, or judgment, your entire body responds. It tightens. It retreats. It becomes protective. When you think a high-frequency thought like clarity, strength, or expansion, your system opens. You feel momentum, vision, resolve. Now here's the key. Your emotional set point isn't fixed. It's programmable. And thought tuning is the manual override. Step 1. Identify the station you're currently tuned to. Check the emotional frequency of your body. Not the story, the feeling. Is it tight, drained, defensive, charged, light? Your body doesn't lie. It tells you where your mind is tuned. Step 2. Name the emotion with precision. Generic naming won't help. I feel off gives your brain no command. Instead, say, I feel like I'm operating from scarcity right now. Or, I feel the energy of pressure, not trust. Specific labeling brings the emotion into the conscious domain, where it can be adjusted. Step 3. Interrupt the thought that's broadcasting the frequency. Every emotional state is being reinforced by a looped thought. Find it, name it, question it. I'm behind might be the loop. I might fail again might be another. These are not truths. They're broadcasts. You're not receiving, you're transmitting. Now the core move. Step 4. Choose the station. Consciously. Decide what frequency you want to operate from right now. Power, calm, resolve, joy, confidence. Then think the thought that matches that frequency. For example, everything is figure-out-able. I lead with clarity under pressure. I've handled harder than this and elevated. I am a match for this level. You don't say these things to escape the moment. You say them to tune into the energy required to lead the moment. Now here's where most people go wrong. They think they need to feel the new frequency before they can use it. That's backwards. You use the new thought until your body catches up. Repetition tunes the signal. Imagine a foggy day. You can't see clearly, but you know the sun is still there. Thought tuning is like switching on your internal GPS to move toward that sun even when vision is limited. And yes, this works under pressure, especially under pressure, because pressure reveals your dominant frequency. If your default is chaos, you panic. If your default is command, you act. Your job is to train command into the nervous system until it overrides chaos. Here's the tactical reinforcement. Start your day with frequency selection. Ask, what emotional state matches the outcomes I want today? Then install a thought that activates that state. Speak it, feel it, anchor it with movement. During transitions between meetings, environments, or tasks, reset the dial. Never bring one frequency into a container that requires another. Wipe, retune. Before decisions, check, what frequency am I in right now? If the answer is fear, tune up before choosing. You don't need to wait for emotions to change. You train them through deliberate thought plus physical engagement plus consistency. Now here's what happens over time. The body starts recognizing new emotional baselines. What used to be normal, stress, overthinking, guilt, starts feeling foreign. And high-frequency states like trust, presence, decisiveness become your default. That's emotional mastery. And this mastery is not about perfection. You'll still wobble. But the difference now is speed of recovery. Your tune-up becomes automatic. You catch the distortion. You correct the signal. You've now learned to take emotional control at the level of frequency. Next, we will climb higher, literally, into the emotional ladder that lets you scale up your energy state with precision, speed, and upward force. You've now tuned your thoughts like a signal, upgraded your emotional set point using precise commands and internal awareness. But what happens when your entire nervous system feels like it's operating from the wrong floor? When your inner frequency is stuck low and you can't think your way up, that's when you use the vibration ladder. The vibration ladder is a simple but potent model for emotional mobility. It allows you to shift your entire frequency level upward, step by step, without pretending, forcing, or bypassing your current reality. Most people try to jump from fear to joy, from shame to confidence, but that leap often fails. It's too wide, feels false, so the body rejects it. But if you scale gradually, one step at a time, you build real emotional momentum. That's the ladder. Let's define the levels. At the very bottom, shame, guilt, apathy. Slightly higher, fear, anxiety, self-doubt. Midway up, neutrality, curiosity, acceptance. Higher still, clarity, gratitude, empowerment. At the top, joy, expansion, certainty, love, power. Now let's map how to climb. Step 1. Acknowledge your current rung. Don't skip this. You can't shift what you deny. If you're stuck in fear, say it. I'm at fear right now. No judgment, just positioning. Step 2. Ask, what's one level above this? Fear? The next rung might be neutrality. I don't have to know everything right now. I can observe. That move alone lifts you. If you're at self-doubt, the next rung could be curiosity. What if this experience is teaching me something I'll use later? You're not trying to jump to bliss. You're reaching for the next feeling that holds slightly more power. And each step builds. Step 3. Use micro-questions to support the shift. Each emotional step needs mental reinforcement. Use questions to unlock it. What's true that I'm not seeing right now? What would trust feel like in this body? If I already knew I'd figure this out, what would I do next? You're not affirming blindly. You're constructing upward mobility with logic the body can accept. Step 4. Anchor each rung with action. Each emotional state has a behavior that matches it. If you've moved from apathy to curiosity, take a small action that proves it. Read something. Ask a question. Try a new tool. Action confirms to the body that the emotional upgrade is legitimate. That's how you lock in the new rung. Step 5. Repeat. Upward. The power of the vibration ladder is that you can use it in any moment, from any state. You're never locked in. You're never stuck. There's always a rung you can reach. And when you climb 2 or 3 levels, your perspective transforms completely. At the bottom, everything looks chaotic. By mid-level, the chaos looks manageable. At the top, it looks like feedback, fuel, opportunity. This is not just mindset. It's biochemical. Every emotional step shifts the cocktail of neurotransmitters and hormones moving through your system. That's why this ladder feels so real, because your body is adjusting with each upward click. Now, here's the transformation over time. Low-frequency states become temporary, not home. Mid-range emotions become your floor, not your ceiling. High-level states become your new baseline, not an occasional high. This isn't about feeling amazing all the time. It's about emotional mobility, your ability to move up without resistance. You've now learned how to climb the emotional ladder step by step, from any state, no matter how low, into clarity, confidence, and momentum. Next, we will take this one level further by giving you a code, a single override system to shut down emotional spirals the moment they begin. You've learned how to scale emotional frequencies using the vibration ladder, a step-by-step climb that moves you from low states like fear or doubt into higher states like clarity, strength, and expansion. But what happens in moments when there's no time to climb? When the spiral starts fast? When stress, anger, or anxiety hits hard? That's when you need the override code. This is the internal command that stops an emotional loop before it takes control of your system. It's not a distraction technique. It's not a coping mechanism. It's a neurological short circuit, one that disrupts the chemical storm your body is preparing to release. And it only works if you install it before the storm comes. Here's the concept. Every emotional spiral has a 5 to 10 second ignition phase. It begins with a trigger, a look, a message, a memory, a result. Your brain responds before you even realize what's happening. Cortisol begins to rise. Your body tenses. Your focus narrows. A familiar thought loop grabs hold. This is when most people surrender. They let the emotion run. They tell themselves they'll regroup after the day settles. But by then, the spiral has cost them hours of clarity, presence, and momentum. The override code is your intervention point. Here's how it works. Step 1. Detect the ignition moment. This requires awareness. You must train yourself to recognize the first signal of the spiral, not the full experience. It's that tightness in your chest, that sharp internal voice, that shift in breath, that tension in your gut, that urge to defend, attack, or freeze. That's your signal. That's when you fire the code. Step 2. Use a pre-chosen command. The override code must be short, clear, repeatable, and emotionally loaded. It can be one of the following or something of your own. This is not my frequency. Pause. Reset. Move. Override in effect. We don't do spirals here. Shift now. Higher signal only. The goal is not to sound cool. The goal is to break the automatic loop. You must say it out loud if possible, internally if not, with intensity. Not casually. You're not trying to calm yourself. You're cutting the wire before the bomb goes off. Step 3. Engage physical override. Emotion lives in the body. To override it fully, you must shift your physiology immediately. This can be a power breath. Deep in through the nose, sharp out through the mouth. Posture reset, shoulders back, spine tall. A short, deliberate walk. A muscle contraction followed by release, fists, core, jaw. This tells the nervous system, new signal. Abort previous pattern. You're resetting both mentally and physically. Step 4. Redeclare your chosen state. You don't stop at neutral. Once the override is in place, you must choose what emotional frequency comes next. Declare it. I choose clarity. I'm operating from center. I respond, I don't react. I am the calm inside the storm. Declare with certainty, not question. The override won't hold if you doubt it. Step 5. Act from the new signal. Immediately take a micro-action that reinforces the shift. Send the message. Move the task forward. Step into leadership. Begin the next move. Action locks in the override. Now let's talk about consistency. The override code only becomes automatic through repetition. You don't wait for chaos to begin practicing it. You rehearse it daily. Use it during small triggers. A traffic delay. A slow download. A misunderstanding. Train your brain to fire the code at the first sign of friction. Over time, your nervous system will learn. Spirals don't lead here. Control does. Clarity does. Agency does. And here's what's powerful. Others will feel it. They'll sense your steadiness. Your ability to operate while others shake. This builds presence, trust, influence. You're not reactive anymore, you're sovereign. Let's reinforce the truth. Emotional spirals are patterns, not identity. Override codes are weapons, not affirmations. Emotional mastery is a choice, not a genetic trait. You've just installed the emotional override system, your instant tool to shut down spirals and restore clarity on command. Next, we will zoom into the most subtle, powerful moment that exists inside the mind, the pause between reaction and power, and how mastering it changes everything. You've just equipped yourself with a rapid override system, a weaponized protocol that halts emotional spirals before they control you. But what if you could go deeper than interruption? What if you could control the exact moment before your response, before your words, before your thoughts fully engage? That moment exists. It's called the quantum pause. This isn't mindfulness. This isn't meditation. It's micromastery of the space between impulse and identity, between your nervous system's first signal and the action you take. That space is tiny. It often lasts less than a second. But inside it lives your entire power. Most people miss it. They react. They justify. They explain. And later they say, I should have responded differently. The quantum pause is the space that gives you the ability to respond differently, before you regret anything. Let's examine what it is and how to use it. The quantum pause is the fraction of stillness available between trigger and response. In that stillness you choose, not habitually, not emotionally, deliberately. And here's the revelation. The more often you enter that space, the longer it becomes. Your nervous system begins expanding the pause. The more you master it, the more control you gain. Step 1. Catch the microsignal. This is where most fail. The pause begins the moment you notice the body's preparation to react. A spike in heart rate, a sharp breath, tightening jaw, a quick retort forming. The signal is subtle but consistent. Train yourself to detect that signal. It's your entry point. Step 2. Breathe once. With intention. Not for calm. For clarity. Inhale sharp. Exhale slow. One breath. Taken with the awareness that you're entering the pause. You're telling your system, wait, let me speak. Step 3. Ask. What would the elevated version of me choose here? You're not analyzing. You're not overthinking. You're referencing the version of you that's already locked into power. Would they argue? Stay silent? Respond with strength? Make the call? Hold the line? Let that answer guide the next move, but only after the breath. The breath creates distance. Distance creates sovereignty. Step 4. Respond from clarity. This response is often quieter, simpler, more direct. It may even be no response at all, but it belongs to you, not to your patterns, not to your triggers. This is what power looks like in action. Not loud, not showy, but decisive, unshakable. And when you train this over time, people notice. You stop being pulled into emotional chaos. You become known as someone who responds, not reacts. You create emotional gravity, leadership, presence. Now let's apply this beyond moments of tension. Use the quantum pause before decisions, before answers, before opinions. Let it become a default, a mental checkpoint that clears static and installs signal. Here's the unexpected truth. The quantum pause creates time, not on the clock, in your mind. It expands moments. It gives you mental surface area to process faster, think clearer, lead better. Without it, you collapse into reaction. With it, you rise into agency. Now, this isn't about being slow. The most powerful people respond fast because they pause first. Their clarity is sharper. Their direction is rooted. They don't guess. They decide. You now have access to that same capacity. Train the pause. Find the signal. Hold the breath. Reference your elevated self. Act from sovereignty. You've now stepped into the most critical layer of internal power, the ability to choose your response inside pressure. Next, we will take that power into the external world and show you how to remain limitless when your environment becomes chaotic, noisy, or unpredictable. You've just claimed the power of the quantum pause, the micro-moment that separates impulse from sovereignty, reaction from identity. But now it's time to go external. Because while internal mastery builds your center, real transformation must withstand the noise. The modern world is a minefield, a chaotic landscape of signals, pressure, distractions, and demands pulling at your attention from every direction. Notifications, opinions, urgency, noise, fear, trends, noise, noise, noise. And that's where most people lose themselves. Not from a lack of tools, from a lack of stability in the storm. Minefield navigation is the art of remaining limitless in the presence of environmental chaos. It's not about escaping noise. It's about learning to operate above it. Let's get brutally clear. Clarity isn't found in isolation. It's created in the middle of motion. You don't need perfect calm to stay centered. You need internal signal strength that's louder than the external static. Let's build it. Step 1. Recognize the noise pattern. Not all chaos is random. The world has a rhythm, especially in its attempts to pull you off-center. There are predictable spikes. The fear cycle in media, the productivity pressure during certain seasons, the comparison culture on social platforms. These aren't personal. They're programmed. They exist to disrupt your focus and replace it with emotional urgency. The antidote? Pattern recognition. Say it aloud. This is just noise. That phrase alone neutralizes 50% of the pull. Step 2. Control your inputs. Ruthlessly. Limitless thinking cannot coexist with polluted inputs. You don't need more motivation, you need less distortion. Audit your environment. Who are you listening to? What media are you consuming daily? What do you see the moment you wake up? If your inputs are laced with fear, judgment, or distraction, your frequency will collapse to match. Clean inputs create clean energy, and that energy builds the force field around your mental clarity. Step 3. Decide what gets in before it shows up. Mental boundaries must be pre-installed. You can't decide what to ignore while the noise is shouting. Set filters. I don't respond to urgency that isn't aligned. I don't engage with content that triggers comparison. I don't adopt energy from systems I don't want to replicate. These filters aren't restrictions. They're protections for your signal, your state, and your trajectory. Step 4. Create command space. Every high-functioning mind needs one environment that reinforces limitlessness. A desk, a room, a digital layout, a mental routine. That space isn't about aesthetics. It's about anchoring. When you enter that environment, mental or physical, you step into identity. You command from there. Build your environment like a fortress, not to hide in, but to launch from. Step 5. Train in chaos. Don't wait for peace to be powerful. Build your practices inside the storm. Run your scripts when distracted. Practice the pause under pressure. Use override codes mid-interaction. Shift frequency in the middle of mess. This makes the tools real. You're no longer training for calm. You're training for command. Because here's the truth. If your power only works in silence, it's not power. It's a preference. Limitless minds operate anywhere. On planes, in meetings, in deadlines, amid noise, amid urgency, amid anything. Why? Because their center isn't circumstantial. It's installed. And here's what happens when you mastermind field navigation. You stop being reactive. You start becoming magnetic. Your presence calms chaos. Your decisions cut through noise. You lead not by control but by coherence. You don't try to match the world's speed. You operate at your own frequency, and the world starts adjusting to you. You've now learned to hold your inner power while the external world spins. Next, we will activate that power into action with a method used by elite performers to trigger high-performance states with absolute precision. You've now learned to remain unshaken in the storm, to operate from internal clarity while the world around you tries to distort your frequency. But what if you could go one step further? What if you could access your most powerful internal state on command? Anytime, anywhere. That's what neural anchoring gives you. Neural anchoring is the science of creating a deliberate trigger. A phrase, a touch point, a movement, a signal that instantly activates a powerful emotional and mental state. This is not motivation. This is conditioning. Elite performers use this without even realizing it. A wrist tap before stepping on stage. A phrase whispered before a big decision. A breath pattern before taking the shot. These are not superstitions, they're neural switches. Let's unpack how they work and how to build yours. Your nervous system remembers state. Every time you feel something intensely, confidence, fire, certainty, your brain ties that state to the sensory conditions around it. That includes sound, smell, sight, and most importantly, touch. If repeated with intensity, those conditions become anchors. This means you can deliberately create a shortcut to that state and use it anytime you need a boost in clarity, fire, or presence. Step 1. Identify your high-performance state. Think back to a moment where you were completely locked in. Clear, decisive, calm, commanding. What did it feel like in your body? How did you breathe? What thoughts were present? What did your posture feel like? This is your reference point, your template for the anchor. Step 2. Choose a simple physical trigger. This can be pressing your thumb and middle finger together, tapping your chest twice, placing a hand on your heart, a sharp inhale plus exhale combo, a coded phrase or word said internally or aloud. Pick something discrete and repeatable. You'll use this as the activation switch. Step 3. Install the anchor through intensity. Here's where most fail. They try to set an anchor in a neutral state. That doesn't work. You must amplify the emotional and physical experience of your peak state while engaging the trigger. Here's how. Stand in power posture. Recall the moment of peak performance. Amplify the emotion until you feel it surge. Breathe with rhythm and strength. Engage the physical trigger while holding the state. Repeat 5 to 10 times with emotional force. This creates a neurological link between the trigger and the state. Step 4. Test the anchor. Step away. Shake out. Break state. Then activate your trigger. If done properly, you'll feel an immediate shift. A snap into alignment. That's the signal it's working. Step 5. Reinforce in real-world environments. Start using the anchor during real situations. Before a pitch. Mid-meeting. While walking into a high-stakes environment. Before decision-making. After override moments when emotional energy drops. Each use strengthens the connection. The more you activate it under pressure, the more automatic it becomes. You're training your brain to say, this signal equals power. This is mental architecture. You're building neural fast tracks to greatness. Now, here's the upgrade most never reach. You can build multiple anchors for different states. One for certainty, one for calm, one for creative flow, one for emotional recovery, one for total focus, each assigned to its own unique trigger and installed with intention. You now have a mental toolbox, not just a motivational playlist. Neural anchoring turns your inner mastery into tactical advantage. It turns emotion into a resource. No more waiting to feel ready. No more hoping for inspiration. You flip the switch. You activate the code. You've just installed your first neural anchor, a repeatable trigger to access peak performance states on command. Next, we will install that activation into your daily rhythm with a full-spectrum routine that keeps your mind rewired every single day. You've just built your first neural anchor, a trigger to activate your power state on command. This is what high-level performers rely on when pressure peaks. But to truly embed all the shifts you've made, you need more than a trigger. You need a rhythm, a structure that rewires your mind, not just occasionally, but daily. That structure is called the limitless loop. The limitless loop is a 6-minute, repeatable neural ritual designed to stabilize your upgraded identity, emotional state, and decision-making power each day. Not in a rigid, overwhelming way, but with surgical efficiency. It's short, simple, potent, and designed to fire your new coding into place before the world tries to overwrite it. Let's break it down. Minute 1, frequency check. Start by tuning in. Ask yourself, what frequency am I starting with today? Not a thought, a felt sense. Are you operating from pressure? From expectation? From clarity? From peace? Don't judge it. Just name it. Labeling your state gives you leverage over it. Minute 2, neural script activation. Now speak your neural script out loud. Not like an affirmation, like a declaration. One clear, emotionally backed identity statement that reflects your current evolution. Examples. I move like the leader I already am. I create momentum, not excuses. I operate from clarity, not chaos. I trust what I build because I trust who I am. Speak slowly, deliberately. Let the words land. This isn't for positivity, it's for programming. Minute 3, future memory rehearsal. Drop into your future memory the moment you scripted in earlier chapters. See it clearly. Feel it as real. Engage the senses. What's around you? What are you doing? What are you saying to yourself? How does success feel in your nervous system? Let this moment shape your perception of the day ahead. You're setting an emotional GPS. Minute 4, anchor installation. Now engage your neural anchor. Fire the trigger that connects you to your high-performance state, the breath, the phrase, the gesture. Hold the energy. Feel it lock in. This part links everything you've activated so far to your physical system. It reminds your brain, we know how to operate from this space. Minute 5, clarity pulse. Now ask, what does today demand from my highest self? Listen for the answer. Write down one action, not 10, that aligns with that identity. Not a task list. Power move. One decision. One conversation. One behavior that reflects your evolution. Then commit. This gets done. No negotiation. Minute 6, quantum question. Close the loop with this question. What would make today undeniable? Not successful. Undeniable. This opens the door to energy, presence, excellence. You're not just trying to win the day. You're engineering a signal that matches your identity. Let the answer surface. Whatever comes, do it. Now let's talk execution. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be consistent. Run the limitless loop every morning. Make it yours. Speak the words. Fire the anchor. Lock the future. Set the tone. 6 minutes is enough to shift your mental architecture. It's not about duration. It's about intensity and focus. And if you ever feel off track during the day, run a microloop. Do a 2-minute reset. Frequency check. Script. Anchor. Move. That's how pros reset without losing momentum. The limitless loop turns theory into installation. It's how you take the shifts from this method and make them daily code. You've now installed a repeatable structure to rewire your identity and behavior each day. Next, we will reprogram the most vulnerable part of your day, the moment when your brain is most programmable, right after waking. You now have the limitless loop, a structured, repeatable process to train your brain each day. But there's one moment that holds even more power than that 6-minute ritual. It's the moment just after you wake up, when your mind is half online and your subconscious is fully open. This is your most neurologically sensitive window of the day. And most people waste it by checking phones, rushing thoughts, or absorbing noise before choosing a signal. That stops now. Hacking the morning is about using your first few minutes awake to install identity, direct emotional state, and issue commands to your subconscious before it gets distracted, influenced, or pulled into external noise. Here's why it works. When you wake, your brain transitions slowly from theta to alpha waves. In theta, your mind is highly suggestible. You're still connected to dream state logic, emotion, and nonlinear awareness. This is when deep impressions are easiest to make. Let's build the process. Step 1. Protect the first 10 minutes. No input, no scroll, no mental download. This is your raw access window. Before you even sit up, pause. Close your eyes. Use this brief state to command your day from identity, not urgency. Step 2. Run your neural script internally. Speak your neural identity inside your head with rhythm and clarity. Not passively, authoritatively. Examples. This day belongs to the next version of me. I know what I do. I trust how I move. Everything I touch today aligns with growth. I am not who I was yesterday. I am who I now decide to be. Your subconscious doesn't need volume. It needs clarity and emotion. Step 3. Visualize your future memory, fast and visceral. Bring up your selected moment, the one that proves your elevation is real. Don't linger. Just feel it. Drop into it for 60 seconds. Breathe it in. What this does, it tells your subconscious what to expect. And once expectation is set, perception begins filtering the world through that lens. Step 4. Select your emotional frequency. Ask one simple question. What energy am I choosing to carry into this day? Don't overthink it. Choose one. Clarity, strength, calm, momentum, discipline, joy, presence. Once chosen, feel it. Even for 5 seconds. Let your body echo the signal. This choice is subtle but critical. Without emotional selection, the world chooses for you. And the world's default is noise, not expansion. Step 5. Activate the physical body. Before you get up, move, stretch, breathe, lengthen. Signal your nervous system. This body is moving with purpose today. This isn't exercise. It's awareness. You're connecting your identity to motion. That's what makes the wiring stick. Now here's the elite layer. Place your trigger physically near your bed. Whether it's your journal, a note, an object tied to your identity, let it anchor your first thoughts. You are engineering your first 5 minutes to match your highest signal. Because if the first thoughts of your day are default, reactive, unchosen, then your entire emotional frame is at risk. But if they are curated, installed, embodied, then your frequency leads, not follows. Let's recap. Protect your window. Speak your script with presence. Drop into future memory. Select frequency. Move intentionally. Anchor with presence. This sequence takes less than 5 minutes. But it changes everything. Because it programs your subconscious before the world can. And over time, your mornings become launchpads. Your momentum becomes automatic. You stop being pulled into reactivity and start setting the emotional temperature of every space you enter. You've now learned how to hijack your most programmable window of the day. Next, we will program the other window most people ignore, your final minutes of consciousness, where transformation can unfold while you sleep. You've learned how to control your mornings, those fragile, powerful minutes where the subconscious is most open. But now it's time to take that control into your final moments of the day. Because while your conscious mind sleeps, your subconscious remains awake, replaying, sorting, integrating. This is where the sleep code enters, the final command sequence that installs identity-level programming while your conscious guard is down. Most people use sleep to escape. They shut off. But your brain doesn't. Processes input. It sorts memories. It reinforces patterns. If you don't consciously choose what it reinforces, it defaults to whatever emotional signal you carried into bed: stress, distraction, unresolved loops. This is where your transformation either solidifies or resets. Let's reverse that. Let's build a system that reprograms your mind in your most unguarded state. Step 1. Prepare the signal. In the final 10 minutes before sleep, your brain drops back into theta, the same frequency as hypnosis. This means whatever you emotionally reinforce in that window gets prioritized by your subconscious during sleep. This isn't about productivity. It's about identity reinforcement. Your job isn't to wind down with noise. It's to signal your future self that the next level is already underway. That begins with intentional input. No social media, no emails, no chaotic stimulation. Replace that noise with signals of who you are becoming. A simple sentence works. Everything I did today moved me forward. I am becoming more aligned every hour. My system upgrades while I rest. Emotion matters more than words. If you speak it, feel it. Step 2. Run the closing loop. Close the mental tabs of the day. Don't go to sleep with loops open. That's how anxiety gets amplified overnight. Closing the loop is simple. Ask, what can I leave outside of sleep tonight? Mentally drop it. Don't solve. Just shelve. Say, this is handled. I rest now. You're not ignoring problems. You're refusing to let them rent space while your system restores. Step 3. Prime your neural script. Now that your system is quiet, this is the moment to install your chosen script. Don't just think it. Speak it inside your mind as if it already happened. Example, today I led with clarity and fire. My decisions matched my identity. Tomorrow, I wake up already locked in. You're not trying to convince yourself. You're reinforcing what your brain is about to rehearse all night. Step 4. Use microvisualization. Drop into a single future memory. No pressure to make it vivid. Just let one frame play, you walking into a room, your team reacting to a result, your message landing. Feel the emotion even for 20 seconds. That's enough. Because during sleep, your brain replays whatever felt real before you shut your eyes. The goal is to let the final signal it processes match your future, not your past. Step 5. Pair with sensory input. This is optional but powerful. Use the same music, scent, or light setting each night during this sequence. This becomes a sensory primer. Your brain learns, when I hear this, we go into programming mode. You're not building a routine. You're creating a ritual, a sacred transition from conscious to subconscious upgrade. Now let's get tactical. You can enhance the sleep code using tools. Sleep masks to trigger sensory darkness. Calming audio tracks with frequency reinforcement. Theta binaural tones. Pre-written affirmations on your nightstand. Voice notes you play for yourself. You're not doing these things to fall asleep faster. You're doing them to ensure that who you are becoming is the last thing your brain encounters before 8 hours of consolidation. And here's what happens when you do this consistently. You wake with less resistance. Your morning tuning becomes easier. Your subconscious starts self-correcting during the day. Identity shifts become sticky, not something you have to reinstall daily. You're not grinding your way to change. You're sleeping your way into alignment. And that's the power of the sleep code. It turns the most passive part of your day into the most transformative. You've now hardwired a nightly system that programs your subconscious with clarity, trust, and future identity. Next, we will look outward at your space and show how your physical environment is also silently shaping your thoughts, behaviors, and emotional state every day. You've just installed a subconscious reprogramming system to turn every night into a reinforcement loop. But while you sleep and reset your mind, something else is still at work. Something just as powerful and just as overlooked. Your environment, not metaphorically, literally. The space around you is either reinforcing your identity or eroding it. It is programming you through cues, clutter, structure, and repetition. And unless you choose that programming, it will default to chaos. This is where the environment switch comes in, a series of upgrades to your physical surroundings that align with the identity you're building. Let's be clear. Your brain is not just processing what's inside your head. It's absorbing everything in its visual and sensory field. And most of that input is unconscious. Your desk, your phone, your room, your desktop, all of it is either signaling focus or friction. Let's start the switch. Step 1. Audit for identity triggers. Look around your space. Ask, does this desk reflect clarity or chaos? Do my digital spaces reflect leadership or noise? Do my clothes, tools, notes, objects signal the future or the past? This isn't aesthetic. It's neurological. Every item is a cue, and cues train behavior. Remove anything that anchors you to outdated versions of yourself. That note you never finished. That book you stopped reading. That app you scroll with. Those are not neutral. They're silent triggers. They reinforce stalling. Step 2. Create command zones. Dedicate one area to being your activation zone. This is where work gets done, decisions get made, mental clarity gets reinforced. It doesn't have to be big. It has to be intentional. One chair, one section of your desk, one shelf, one browser tab group. In that zone, nothing enters that doesn't match your signal. That's how identity cements. Step 3. Inject future state cues. Add symbols, quotes, visuals, objects that represent the identity you're locking in. A mantra in view. A reminder of your power. A photo of a moment you led. A note from your future self. A trigger object that signals peak focus. These aren't decoration. They're anchors. They become the sensory environment your future identity lives inside. Step 4. Eliminate signal conflict. This one's simple. Don't let your sleep space double as your stress space. Don't let your creative space be buried in admin. Don't mix rest zones with hustle zones. Your brain maps space to activity. If you code in distraction where you want performance, you'll never find flow. Give every space one signal, one purpose. That's the switch. Step 5. Rewire digital architecture. Your phone is a subconscious detonator. Most of your mental loops are launched there. Make these changes. Set your lock screen to a single reminder of your identity. Delete one app that drains energy daily. Group your tools for creation and eliminate clutter. Replace background noise with chosen inputs. Use automation to limit distractions. This is the part where most people slip. They want internal power but live in external chaos. Fixing this isn't a bonus. It's essential, because space doesn't just hold your energy. It regulates it. And when your space begins matching your new frequency, your habits shift automatically. Here's what starts to happen. You procrastinate less because friction is gone. You feel clearer because your brain isn't filtering clutter. You trust yourself more because your environment reflects alignment. You act faster because your tools are positioned to support decision-making. The most elite performers in the world build environments that match their identity, not just their goals. And now you're one of them. You've now engineered your surroundings to reinforce who you've chosen to become. Next, we will unlock what most people never think to use, your past, not as memory but as fuel, using a powerful method to mine strength and certainty from everything you've already lived through. You've just aligned your environment to reflect the identity you're stepping into. But there's another space that holds massive power, one that most people avoid or misunderstand. It's not external, it's internal. And if you know how to use it, it becomes a vault of fuel, strength, and clarity. It's your memory vault, the storage of your lived experiences, many of which you've outgrown, misunderstood, or misfiled. Most people treat the past as something to escape, regret, or romanticize. But your past isn't baggage. It's code. And when unlocked the right way, it becomes proof of capability, resilience, and growth, the raw ingredients of your next level. This chapter isn't about reflection. It's about re-extraction. Let's build the vault. Step 1. Identify untapped victories. Start by mining moments from your past that prove one thing. You already have evidence of strength. Not the big wins, the overlooked ones. A time you said no when it mattered. A moment you held your ground. A decision you made when no one clapped. A challenge you faced and overcame even in silence. You don't need dozens. You need 5. List them. Not in detail. In keywords. Anchor phrases. Moments. These become your power files, snapshots of self-trust. Step 2. Extract the emotion, not the story. Here's where most stop short. They recall the event. They forget to feel the version of themselves who handled it. Close your eyes. Pick one file. Step into that memory, and lock in the emotional state you were in when you made that decision. What did your body feel like? What did your breathing do? What kind of voice did you hear in your head? That's the energy we're after. Now lock in the phrase, I was that strong. I am that strong. You're not fantasizing. You're remembering. Step 3. Relabel your past from neutral to fuel. There are likely parts of your story that felt like failure, delay, or dead end. But here's the truth. Nothing is neutral. Everything is teachable or leverageable. Grab one failure. Just one. Ask, what did I gain from that? What awareness did I build? What standard did I set afterward? You're not forcing positivity. You're assigning value. Your vault doesn't hold wins. It holds proof. Evidence. That's the difference. And evidence becomes armor. Step 4. Build your memory stack. This is your internal arsenal. Each morning, pick one file. Recall it. Feel it. Let your body echo that energy. Say the words. If I did that, I can do this. That version of me still lives here. I've already proven I move under pressure. You're stacking emotional history not to live in the past, but to upgrade your self-reference today. This technique dismantles imposter syndrome, because imposter syndrome only exists in the absence of self-reference. You've now built that reference internally. Step 5. Use the vault in real time. Moments of doubt? Tap a file. Before a bold move? Reference a moment you already did something harder. In conversations where you feel smaller, access the memory of when you stood tall. This is neural alchemy, transmuting lived experience into real-time fuel. And here's what happens when you master the memory vault. Confidence becomes grounded, not hype. You don't need external validation. Your past proves your path. Emotional stability rises because your past becomes an ally, not a weight. You've now turned your past into power. No longer something to escape or edit. It's now a library of leverage that you carry everywhere. You've mined your own story for strength and reference. Next, we will take all that internal fuel and distill it into a single line. A high-frequency statement you can return to any time you need precision, certainty, and realignment. You've now extracted power from your past, locked in evidence of resilience, choice, and growth. But what happens when you're mid-moment, mid-meeting, mid-decision, and you feel yourself wobble? You don't always have time to process a full memory. You need something faster, cleaner, sharper. That's what the power statement is for. The power statement is a single sentence, customized, emotionally loaded, and coded to your current evolution. It's not affirmation. It's identity in language. It works because language is the trigger of thought. and thought is the signal that activates emotion. One sentence, when crafted precisely, can reset your posture, your focus, and your emotional state in seconds. Let's build yours. Step 1. Choose your core identity word. This word defines your posture, how you move through the world when you're at your best. Some examples: unshakable, decisive, aligned, focused, sovereign, creative, magnetic, relentless, precise. Don't overthink it. Choose one that feels like home when you say it out loud. Now say it. Feel what your body does when that word lands. That's your anchor. Step 2. Link it to your purpose. Ask, when I'm at my best, what do I create, lead, or hold space for? This becomes the direction. Examples: I create breakthroughs. I lead high-frequency rooms. I hold vision when others fold. I bring order to pressure. I make complexity simple. Now you have identity plus direction. Step 3. Attach the energy. Power isn't cold. It's emotionally charged. Ask, what energy do I radiate when I'm fully locked in? Examples: calm fire, quiet authority, intentional intensity, light focus, grounded certainty, unstoppable clarity. Now let's synthesize. Here's a formula. I am identity word, bringing energy to purpose. Examples: I am sovereign, bringing calm fire to chaos. I am focused, bringing unstoppable clarity to every move I make. I am aligned, bringing grounded leadership to every decision. I am magnetic, bringing quiet power to the rooms I enter. Say it out loud. Feel it. Refine until it hits like truth. Step 4. Embed the statement. Repetition installs programming. Use your power statement first thing in the morning, right before meetings, mid-decision, during wobbles, before bed, as your phone lock screen, as your journal header, as your daily loop mantra. You're not hoping to feel it. You're training your system to return to it instantly. And if the world shakes your frequency, your power statement becomes the emotional GPS back to center. Step 5. Refine as you evolve. The power statement is living code. You may outgrow it. Update it. Every 30 to 60 days. Check. Does this still reflect my highest signal? Is this the posture I lead from now? What has elevated and what needs language to match? Most people never speak to themselves in ways that unlock power. They speak in reaction, in doubt, in habit. You now have a line that brings you back to the truth. Fast. And here's the outcome. You stop spiraling when tension hits. You recover clarity within seconds. You sound different, move different. You begin to trust your energy because it has direction. You've now created a personal power signal, a sentence that recenters you anywhere, anytime, under any pressure. Next, we will install a decision-making filter that removes overthinking and gives you a binary tool to align with clarity in just 10 seconds. You've now built a power statement, a high-frequency sentence that recenters your identity. But even with clarity, many people still stall at the point of decision. Why? Because they're waiting for certainty. They hesitate, analyze, loop. And in that hesitation, momentum dies. The truth is, most overthinking is just unstructured fear. But with the right tool, decisions become simple, fast, sharp, and aligned. Welcome to Quantum Decision Making, a 10-second internal filter that either locks in a yes or eliminates the no without drama. Here's the principle. You don't need more time. You need better calibration. And calibration happens when your decisions align with your core signal. Let's build the filter. Step 1. Anchor to identity, not emotion. When most people make decisions, they ask, how do I feel about this? Wrong question. The real question is, does this match who I am becoming? Emotions are unstable. Identity is precise. Ask, does this pull me closer to the frequency I've chosen? Does this reflect my power statement? Would the next version of me say yes to this? This bypasses your temporary emotion and activates long-term clarity. Step 2. Run the 10-second rule. When a decision presents itself, an invitation, a message, a task, a pivot, give yourself exactly 10 seconds to answer one binary question. Is this a full body yes or a clear no? If it's not a yes, it's a no. If it's not a no, it's a delay trap. The 10-second rule cuts decision fatigue. It ends mental loops. It removes the illusion that more thinking creates clarity. More thinking only creates noise. Step 3. Use the signal test. If you're unsure, run the signal test. Ask, does this make my body expand or contract? Does my breathing deepen or shallow? Do I feel pulled forward or frozen in place? Your body answers faster than your brain. And it's honest. If you feel tight, small, uncertain, that's contraction. It's a no. If you feel open, lifted, certain, that's alignment. It's a yes. You've used this signal before, you just didn't trust it. Now you will. Step 4. Practice decision speed in low-stakes moments. Build the muscle. Which route to take? Which message to send? Which task to handle first? What to say yes to on your calendar? Decide. Fast. With precision. You're not training perfection. You're training decisiveness. And the speed compounds into confidence. Slow, unsure people get dragged. Decisive people lead. Step 5. Apply the yes expansion model. Anytime you say yes, commit to expansion behavior immediately. That means block time, declare intent, set next action, build the trigger. A yes without action becomes energetic leakage. A yes followed by action becomes power. And if the answer is no, release it fully. Don't loop. Don't justify. Move on. Every moment spent debating a no is energy stolen from your real yes. Now let's address hesitation. What if you're afraid you'll make the wrong choice? Here's the answer: you will sometimes. But that's not the issue. The issue is whether you can course correct fast. And quantum decision makers always can, because they're not attached to being right. They're committed to alignment. When you make decisions from your highest signal, even the wrong choice becomes progress. Why? Because clarity comes through movement. This is not guesswork. This is neural leadership. You're no longer outsourcing choices to fear, convenience, or delay. You've installed a binary filter. Yes or no. Action or release. From now on, you will stop stalling. You will stop circling choices. You will cut with clarity. You will trust the elevated version of yourself to choose, move, refine. You've now installed a 10-second decision protocol that removes hesitation and fuels forward motion. Next, we will turn to the energy that most people mislabel as laziness and teach you how to use resistance itself as a catalyst for immediate action. You now have a system to make decisions with speed, clarity, and identity alignment. But there's a force that still creeps in no matter how certain you feel. It shows up before the workout, before the call, before the creative session. That force is resistance. Not laziness, not fear, not confusion, resistance. And it's universal. Even the most focused minds feel it. The difference? High performers know how to use it. You're about to learn how to flip resistance into momentum. Let's decode it. Resistance is energy with no direction. It builds when energy wants to move, but isn't yet pointed at a target. Feels like drag, avoidance, numbness, overthinking, task shuffling, self-talk that begins with "I should." Sound familiar? That's not failure. That's fuel waiting to be redirected. Here's how to rewire it. Step 1. Name it. Fast. When you feel resistance, don't pretend it's not there. Don't argue with it. Say, "This is resistance." That means energy is available. This flips the script. Resistance is not your enemy. It's a signal that power is present, but not yet aimed. Step 2. Interrupt the inertia. Do one micro-action that contradicts the pattern. Examples: stand up, change rooms, clap twice, snap your fingers, say your power statement out loud, drop into a deep breath. This breaks the loop. Resistance is a loop. Break the loop, the pattern dies. Step 3. Identify the next physical move. Don't plan. Don't outline. Move. Ask, what's the next physical action I can take in under 60 seconds? Not the full task, just the ignition. Open the document. Write one sentence. Put on the shoes. Start the call. Prep the tool. Movement breaks resistance. Every time. Step 4. Stack state immediately. Once movement begins, layer it. Fire your anchor. Speak your power statement. Recall a memory from your vault. Say, "We move now." This turns a flicker of motion into sustained burn. You're not waiting for inspiration. You're building it from motion. Step 5. Close the cycle fast. Most resistance returns because people start but don't finish. Don't drag tasks into tomorrow. Close the cycle. Send it. Ship it. Save it. Mark it done. Leave no open loops. This trains your nervous system. When we move, we complete. Completion rewires confidence. Now let's build your resistance reframe. Every time resistance hits, say this. This is the threshold of growth. My system is trying to protect the old version. But I move anyway. You're not trying to feel ready. You're using resistance as the trigger. This rewires your nervous system to interpret tension as a call to action, not a warning sign. Here's what happens. You stop labeling yourself as lazy. You gain energy from friction. You build self-trust by doing what matters before motivation arrives. You create momentum in minutes, not hours. You've now learned how to neutralize the biggest block to movement, not by waiting for flow, but by flipping resistance into activation. Next, we will use that momentum to build a compound effect and show you how to stack states to create daily compounding confidence. You've now redefined resistance, not as a wall, but as fuel. You've learned how to turn hesitation into motion and action into completion. But if you want confidence that doesn't just show up, but compounds, then it's time to master something most people never even think to do: state stacking. State stacking is the deliberate accumulation of small power wins, repeated consistently, so they create a compounding effect on your identity. Not motivation, not hype, emotional architecture. Confidence isn't built in big moments. It's built in micro-decisions that reinforce identity. The principle is simple. Small wins, when emotionally acknowledged, multiply. Let's break it down. Step 1. Track the win, not just the task. Most people complete a task and move on. No pause. No internal shift. No emotional imprint. Wrong move. When you complete a high alignment action, even a tiny one, say internally, "That's a win." Why? Because your brain needs repetition to build identity. And a win that's felt is a win that's remembered. Without acknowledgement, even the biggest achievement fades. With emotional tagging, even the smallest act stacks. Examples. Woke up when you said you would? Say it. That's alignment. Sent the tough message? That's leadership. Finished the workout? That's consistency. Interrupted a negative loop? That's growth. Chose clarity over chaos? That's power. Each tagged win is a confidence deposit. Step 2. Reinforce with language. Now tie the win to your power statement or current identity. This is what focused me does. I act fast because I am decisive. I just proved again. I'm unshakable. Momentum is who I am now. This bridges behavior with identity. It's the fastest way to rewire how you see yourself. Step 3. Build a daily win streak. Create a visible streak. A sequence of stack days where you hit your high alignment wins. You don't need 20 wins. You need 3 that matter. A decision made with clarity. An action taken despite resistance. A ritual honored that reinforces your new self. Hit those 3, that's a streak. Mark it, track it, speak it. Day 7. I'm building something unshakable. You're not tracking for pressure. You're tracking for embodiment. Step 4. Use a physical anchor. Choose one object. A coin, ring, bracelet, token, pen, crystal, anything small, and hold it at the end of each day. Say this: today I chose to be who I said I am. That object becomes a charge point. Your brain begins to associate it with completion, congruence, pride. Carry it, hold it, tap into it midday. It's not woo, it's reinforcement. Step 5. Reflect with intention, not judgment. At night, review. Where did I stack confidence today? What one choice showed me I've evolved? What loop did I break? Then speak the loop closer. I am not who I was this morning. I'm already more. This frames every day as evidence of growth, not just a page on a calendar. Now let's address the real unlock. Confidence doesn't come from success. It comes from alignment with your word. Every time you do what you said you would, your subconscious registers one thing. Safety. Safety in self. Trust in self. That's what allows confidence to show up in the moments that matter. When this becomes automatic, your state becomes self-reinforcing. That's state stacking. Decisions reinforce action. Action reinforces identity. Identity reinforces decisions. Repeat. You now carry an engine that builds itself daily. You've learned to capture micro-wins and turn them into emotional equity. Next, we will install the flywheel, the mechanism that ensures growth becomes easier and momentum starts to generate itself without force. You've just installed the practice of state stacking, tracking wins, tagging them emotionally, reinforcing identity. This gives you daily fuel. But there's a point where that fuel does something remarkable. It begins to generate its own motion. That's the identity flywheel. A flywheel is a self-perpetuating motion machine. Once it builds momentum, it becomes easier to keep spinning and harder to stop. The same is true with identity. First, change feels forced, heavy, new. But over time, if reinforced correctly, it spins on its own. That's what we're about to build. Let's break down the model. Phase 1, friction. This is where all change begins. You're installing new beliefs, routines, patterns. Feels slow, unnatural. It's where most people quit. Why? Because they confuse discomfort with misalignment. It's not misaligned, it's unfamiliar. Your nervous system isn't resisting the upgrade. It's resisting the unknown. Your job here? Repeat with trust. Anchor with identity. Remind yourself, this isn't hard. This is new. Friction fades fast with consistency. Phase 2, familiarity. Here, the new behaviors start to feel normal. You wake up and reach for your neural script without thinking. You run the limitless loop and don't need a reminder. You hear resistance and automatically move. You say no to chaos without explanation. You're not trying. You're defaulting to your new code. That's the sign the flywheel is turning. But don't stop here. Most people plateau when things feel easier. You're just getting started. Phase 3, flow. Now the world begins responding. People notice your energy shift. Opportunities match your identity. Momentum feels less like effort, more like rhythm. You don't ask if you're ready. You know the version of you that handles it has already been activated. The flywheel is spinning. You've exited force. You've entered flow reinforcement. But there's one more level. Phase 4, flip. This is the identity inversion, where what once felt impossible becomes inevitable. You no longer try to behave like the elevated version. You are the elevated version. And when older patterns appear, they feel like strangers. You say, that's not me anymore. And it's not a struggle. It's clarity. You've crossed into what high-level performers call the flip state. The identity has flipped from what I want to become to what I already am. Let's make this tactical. Build your flywheel journal. 1 page. For parts. 1. Friction wins. What did I do today even though it felt new or uncomfortable? 2. Familiar moments. Where did I act without overthinking? 3. Flow points. What came easier than before? 4. Flip signals. What did I used to resist that now feels normal? Fill this out 3 times a week. You'll literally see the momentum build. You're documenting the shift from friction to flip. Now here's the part most miss. The flywheel doesn't need hype. It needs weight. Weight comes from repetition, emotional tagging, environmental alignment, community resonance, internal self-trust. All of these you've already installed. Now the system works for you. You decide faster. You act with less hesitation. You bounce back quicker. You rise without needing to try. This is the reward of inner work done right. Not motivation, momentum. You've now built a mechanism that makes growth easier over time. Next, we will take that new identity and connect it to your external environment, using the limitless others principle to amplify everything by surrounding yourself with people who match your elevation. You've built your flywheel. Your actions now feed your identity, and your identity sustains your momentum. But there's a multiplier most people overlook, a force that amplifies or erodes everything you've installed. That force is proximity, not just social, energetic. You don't just become like the people you spend time with. You sync with their frequency. You absorb their assumptions. Their internal ceiling becomes your invisible limit, unless you choose differently. This is the limitless others effect. And it's not about finding better people. It's about aligning with others who are playing the same game, from the same frequency. Let's reframe your network, not as contacts, but as identity mirrors. Step 1. Identify the energetic tone of your current circle. Ask this about the 5 people you communicate with most frequently. Do they speak from limitation or expansion? Do they normalize alignment or self-abandonment? Do they challenge assumptions or feed doubt? Do they energize you or drain you? This isn't about judging them. It's about protecting your signal. Because every conversation either reinforces your new neural code or begins to undo it. If you've been doing the work, but still feel stuck in old patterns, check your circle. The leak might not be inside your mind, it might be in your environment of voices. Step 2. Recalibrate your baseline influence. This is the person you speak to when things wobble. The one you update. The one you default to sharing wins or struggles with. Now ask, does this person reflect the version of me I'm becoming? Do they anchor me to power or pull me to comfort? If the answer is unclear, you need to reassign that baseline. Choose someone or multiple someones whose normal matches your stretch point. Someone who reflects not where you've been, but where you're headed. That's how identity expansion sticks. Step 3. Send an elevation signal. This changes everything. Craft a short, clear signal and share it with 3 people in your orbit. The right people will recognize it and rise. The wrong ones will fade, and that's fine. Here's how it sounds. I'm operating from a new frequency. I'm being deliberate with energy, alignment, and direction. I'm no longer playing the old game. You'll see it in how I move and what I respond to. I value growth energy. That's where my conversations are headed now. This isn't dramatic. It's signal integrity. You're letting the field and the people in it know who you are now. Step 4. Curate an elevation thread. Create a private space, a group message, a voice note thread, a shared doc, where you only post identity-aligned wins, power decisions, clarity insights, tools or breakthroughs, weekly declarations, no validation seeking, no venting, no downloads, just high-frequency transmission and reflection. This becomes your expansion loop. When others are on the same path, growth becomes contagious. Step 5. Release expired agreements. Some people in your life represent older versions of you, not because they're negative, but because they knew you before you knew yourself. And those connections are often where your growth gets questioned, softened, or made small. You don't have to cut people off, but you must update the emotional agreements they're operating under. Say this internally. They knew a previous version, but I don't need to keep performing it. I can be kind, connected, and still fully evolved. I don't need permission to operate from expansion. You're not rejecting people. You're protecting your evolution. Here's the truth. The people around you are software. And if you don't upgrade your inputs, your system gets dragged backward, no matter how much work you do internally. But when you install the limitless others effect, you normalize elevation. You normalize clarity. You normalize bold moves, fast decisions, and unapologetic standards. That's how quantum identity becomes cultural. You've now calibrated your circle to reinforce your upgrades. Next, we will install the final posture, becoming the cause of change rather than the effect of circumstance, and mastering what it means to operate as quantum confidence. You've surrounded yourself with aligned energy. You've curated a space where your growth is reflected and reinforced. Now comes the shift that changes how you move through every environment. Every room, every interaction, every moment. It's the shift from effect to cause. Most people live as an effect, a reaction to the world, the news, their emotions, their calendar, their fears. You're going to become the cause. This is what we call quantum confidence. It's not built on approval, track records, or constant proof. It's built on signal clarity and internal leadership. Let's install it. Step 1. Own the energetic posture. Every room you enter is already vibrating at a frequency, and most people unconsciously match it. But quantum confidence walks in and adjusts the tone. This doesn't mean arrogance or domination. It means presence. Clean, deliberate presence. Practice saying this before you walk into any room. I don't adapt to energy. I introduce it. This primes your nervous system to stop scanning for permission and start radiating intention. Step 2. Detach from outcome. Confidence collapses when it's tied to results. Real power is based on identity expression, not external validation. Say this daily. My clarity isn't on trial. I move as who I am, not for what I get. My decisions are not applications, they're declarations. This releases the loop of, I hope this works, and replaces it with, this is who I am. You're not trying to win. You're being the win. Step 3. Speak with signal integrity. Quantum confidence speaks from frequency, not approval. That means you say less, but what you say lands. You don't soften your message to be liked. You don't over-explain to be understood. You don't second-guess alignment. Before you speak, ask, is this aligned, precise, and needed? If yes, say it clean. If no, stay silent with power. Your silence becomes as strong as your speech. Step 4. Create space before you enter. Before any call, meeting, or interaction, pause and center into your chosen posture. Ask, what frequency do I want to transmit here? What outcome matches my identity? How do I hold signal when the field gets noisy? Then breathe, set, enter. You don't walk into rooms, you lead rooms energetically. This trains others to expect elevation when you show up. Step 5. Move even when doubt lingers. Confidence isn't the absence of doubt. It's the choice to move through it. Anytime fear rises, say, this feeling is old, but this decision is new. You're not trying to erase nerves. You're reminding yourself who's in charge. You'll know quantum confidence has installed when you speak without rushing. You wait without anxiety. You walk away without guilt. You follow through without needing hype. You stand alone without needing agreement. Because confidence doesn't come from the room agreeing with you. It comes from you agreeing with you. This is the internal leadership most never reach, because they think confidence is a result. It's not. It's an input. It's a cause. And now that's what you are. You've become the energetic root, the one who doesn't wait for the tone but sets it. Next, we will show how to take the external world, your results, signals, and feedback, and use it as a mirror to fine-tune your evolution in real time. You've now stepped into quantum confidence, a posture where you are the cause, not the effect. You walk into rooms not seeking permission, but bringing signal. But confidence isn't a one-time installation. It's a live calibration system, because your life, every result, every delay, every friction point is not just experience. It's feedback. And when you know how to read that feedback, your external world becomes a mirror for what needs to be adjusted internally. This is reality feedback. Let's make this very clear. Life doesn't respond to your desires. It responds to your frequencies. And what's in your field, financially, relationally, physically, is showing you where your identity signal is clear or scattered. Let's start using it with precision. Step 1. Audit your reflection. Choose one area of life that feels out of sync. Health, income, clients, creative flow, connection, recognition, alignment. Then ask, what is this trying to show me about my current frequency? Example, clients are inconsistent. Is my consistency fractured? Money flow feels stuck. Am I playing small or making safe decisions? Relationship energy feels cold. Have I dimmed my openness or honesty? You're not blaming yourself. You're collecting data. Your results aren't judgments. They're readings. Step 2. Decode the pattern. Pick a recurring experience you've had in the last 30 days. Something that keeps showing up. Then ask, what belief might be projecting this? What identity script is running this loop? What part of me is getting confirmed by this reality? If people keep missing your boundaries, maybe your signal is soft. If time keeps slipping, maybe your decisions are fragmented. If results keep stalling, maybe you're still waiting for permission to go bold. You can't fix what you won't face. But when you face it with neutrality, you gain leverage. Step 3. Use the external to install the internal. Now flip it. Pick one powerful, high-alignment result you created, even something small. Ask, what was my internal state right before that happened? What posture was I in? What belief or frequency was I transmitting? Example, you said no to something misaligned and clarity opened up. That's feedback. You trusted your pace and a creative breakthrough hit. That's feedback. You dropped into power and someone reached out unexpectedly. That's feedback. You're now starting to connect the dots. Your identity precedes your results. Step 4. Shift the signal. Let's say a result doesn't match your vision. What now? Change the frequency, not the fantasy. Ask, what version of me would already be living this? What decision have they normalized? What would they never entertain? What tension do they walk straight into? Then act. Fast. The more delay between signal recognition and adjustment, the more noise you invite back in. Shift, act, watch the mirror change. Step 5. Run the feedback loop weekly. Create a ritual called the reality scan. Do it once a week. Ask, what repeated in my external world? What emotional state dominated my actions? What feedback did life give me? And what does it mean about my signal? What will I now tune? This makes life your lab, not your enemy. You're not fighting results. You're reading them, adjusting, moving again. This is how elite minds evolve fast. They don't avoid hard truths. They harvest them. Because the real secret, life never lies. It reflects. When you become fluent in that reflection, you become unstoppable because nothing is bad luck. And everything is usable. You've now installed a method to pull growth from reality itself. Next, we will take every action you make, every move, message, step, and amplify it 10x by learning how to infuse it with concentrated magnetic intention. You've just learned how to use reality as feedback, turning your external world into a dashboard. Now let's take the actions you're already making and magnify their impact exponentially. Because in high-performance environments, it's not about doing more. It's about doing what you're already doing, but with such purity of signal that every step becomes a multiplier. This is action alchemy, the process of charging your decisions with intentional energy so they ripple far beyond the action itself. Let's be very specific. 2 people send the same email. One gets ignored. The other creates a shift. Why? Because one sent it from doubt. The other from alignment. The difference wasn't the content. It was the coding. Step 1. Define the energetic signature. Before any meaningful action, a conversation, message, creative output, post, offer, pitch, pause, and ask, what frequency am I encoding into this? Am I asking or declaring? Am I transmitting power or hoping for validation? If the action is covered in fear, doubt, or over-effort, stop. Realign. Energy first, then motion. Step 2. Collapse multiple intentions into one. Many people scatter their impact because their actions try to do too much. An email that tries to please, impress, and secure a yes ends up doing none. Clarity creates power. Choose one signal per action. This message is to lead. This post is to spark. This decision is to cut. This offer is to invite. This move is to declare. Strip it down. Then move. Clean frequency equals clean impact. Step 3. Name the state you'll act from. You're not acting from circumstance. You're acting from identity. Ask, what version of me is about to do this? What posture is in my tone, my body, my voice? What does this moment become when I lead it from power? Say it out loud. I act from clarity. I create from calm fire. I move from aligned leadership. Speak the code, feel the state, move from signal. Step 4. Reduce effort. Increase intention. Most people pour energy into doing more, but doing more from misalignment only creates louder noise. Instead, shorten the message, slow the pace, say one powerful thing instead of 3 diluted ones. Restate your why before you click send, hit publish, make the call. You're no longer chasing output volume. You're mastering output frequency. Step 5. Imprint your action with emotion. Before you execute, feel the emotion you want to transmit. Confidence, certainty, calm urgency, respectful fire, magnetic openness. This is not performance. This is energetic authorship. Say this: the energy I lead with is the energy they receive. Now execute. Whether it's a 20-minute meeting or a 2-line DM, your action is now encoded with leadership. And here's what begins to happen. More impact with fewer words, faster responses, less resistance from others, stronger boundaries without having to force them, results that feel disproportionate to the action you took. Why? Because energy scales faster than effort. You're now writing energetic code into every move you make. You've now activated action alchemy, a layer of output that multiplies results by intention, not hustle. Next, we will explore the evolution from relying on motivation or willpower to living fully from identity, the final shift where everything you've installed becomes automatic. You've just learned how to magnetize your actions with clean frequency, to lead not with effort, but with energetic clarity. That's action alchemy. But what powers consistency, really? It's not discipline, not hustle, not motivation. It's identity. And this is the final elevation, transitioning fully from using willpower, which depletes, to running on identity power, which sustains itself. Let's be clear. Willpower is finite. It fluctuates. It burns out. But identity, once installed, it becomes your autopilot. This is the shift high performers make without even knowing it. They no longer try to behave a certain way. They simply are that way. That's what we're going to engineer now, deliberately. Step 1. Spot the signs you're still using willpower. If you feel exhausted after simple tasks, constant internal negotiation, should I? Maybe later, dependent on reminders, motivation, or streaks, emotionally drained by decisions that should be normal, then you're using force, not flow. It's not that you're weak. It's that you haven't shifted the identity beneath the action. Let's change that. Step 2. Define the identity that makes the action effortless. Think of a behavior you want to lock in. Showing up boldly on camera. Running daily. Closing loops fast. Being direct in communication. Saying no without guilt. Now ask, who's the version of me for whom this is just normal? What do they believe about themselves? What do they no longer tolerate? What's obvious to them? That I'm still negotiating. That version isn't far away. It's already coded in your potential. You're going to bring them online now. Step 3. Collapse behavior into identity language. Every time you complete the aligned action, don't say, I did it. That's outcome-focused. Say, that's who I am now. This is what I do because this is who I am. Of course I handled that. I am that version now. You're not cheering. You're reinforcing code. Over time, your system stops asking, should I? And starts auto-running, this is what we do. Step 4. Install environmental cues that match identity. If you want to stop needing willpower, stop triggering the old self. Audit your space. What objects, tabs, tools, or inputs reinforce your old posture? What visuals, words, or anchors signal your elevated identity? Swap them. Change your phone lock screen to your power statement. Add the words, we move now, above your desk. Set reminders not for tasks but for identity phrases. The more often your environment speaks to the new self, the faster it becomes dominant. Step 5. Run the who makes this move script. Every time you face resistance or wobble, ask, who makes this move? Then answer with identity. The creative CEO does. The focused strategist handles this fast. The clear closer gets this off the list. Then act. Don't debate. That move shifts you into the identity instead of waiting to feel like it. This is how we stop being emotional about behavior and start being intentional. Because behavior driven by identity doesn't drain. It builds. It doesn't wobble. It compounds. Now, here's the true unlock. When identity leads, habits stop needing reinforcement. You no longer track wins to prove to yourself you're growing. You act because that's what this version does. That's not willpower. That's wiring. You've now transitioned from using force to using identity as fuel. Next, we will give you the complete, repeatable method for rapid personal transformation, your exact blueprint for neural recoding whenever you choose it. You've stepped into identity power, where every decision flows from who you've chosen to become. That's not just powerful. It's scalable. Because once you understand how to shift identity deliberately, you're no longer waiting for growth. You're engineering it. And now you'll install the full Rapid Recoding Blueprint, a step-by-step method to rewire any part of your mindset, your behavior, or your results anytime. Let's begin. The blueprint has 5 parts: interrupt, isolate, install, imprint, integrate. This model works in minutes, and it works on anything. Step 1. Interrupt. Every pattern, whether mental, emotional, or behavioral, runs in loops. To change it, you must stop the loop first. You interrupt by saying the loop out loud. I'm about to spiral into this again. Physically changing state. Stand up, change location, snap fingers. Using your anchor phrase, we don't run that code anymore. This tells the nervous system, new script incoming. Step 2, isolate. Now identify exactly what pattern is playing out. Not just the symptom, the identity statement underneath it. Ask, what am I believing about myself here? What do I keep proving true with this action? What does this pattern say about who I think I am? Example, I avoid hard conversations. I believe I'll be rejected if I speak honestly. I delay my launch. I believe I'm not ready enough to be seen. Name it. Don't sugarcoat it. Exposure is step 1 to deletion. Step 3. Install. Now create the new script. This is the identity and belief you want to reinforce instead. I speak clearly, and let people meet me at truth. I'm always ready, because I'm always growing. I act without delay, because my alignment matters more than my fear. Write it, speak it, own it. This becomes your replacement file. Step 4. Imprint. You don't just speak the new script, you feel it. Close your eyes. Visualize a situation where you normally run the old pattern. But now, imagine yourself acting from the new identity. See it. Hear your tone. Watch your posture. Now speak. This is me now. We don't run the old code. This behavior is mine, because this identity is installed. Rehearse until your nervous system feels calm, not hesitant. This is emotional confirmation. Step 5. Integrate. Integration equals action. Choose one behavior today, no matter how small, that proves this identity is already active. Send the message. Make the offer. Record the video. Say the no. Plan the event. Set the boundary. Integration makes it real, because nothing rewires the brain like aligned action. Repeat this full sequence once a day for 7 days on any identity upgrade you want. You will begin to feel your old patterns glitch. Catch your internal loops mid-sentence. Speak the new script before doubt can interrupt. Move faster, lighter, sharper. Experience less delay, more drive. This blueprint works because it mirrors how your brain actually encodes experience. You're not fighting yourself anymore. You're updating the system. Cleanly, directly, on command. And now you never have to guess what to do when friction shows up again. You don't journal aimlessly. You don't wait for the mood. You don't loop through why do I always anymore. You just run the blueprint. Interrupt, isolate, install, imprint, integrate. That's it. You've now received the operating system for deliberate self-upgrade. Not once, but anytime, for life. Next, we will use this system to guide you through 30 days of rapid rewiring. A full challenge that stacks elevation upon elevation, turning growth into your new daily rhythm. You now hold the complete Rapid Recoding Blueprint. You've learned how to interrupt, isolate, install, imprint, and integrate new identity-level code. But now comes the final layer of true transformation: consistency in application. Because rewiring is not an event. It's a compounding series of decisions made daily until the brain and body accept the new signal as baseline reality. This is where the 30-day quantum challenge begins. It's not a checklist. It's not a routine. It's a living sequence, a structured identity upgrade designed to embed your new code into your nervous system daily. Let's break down how it works. Each day for the next 30 days, you'll focus on one core upgrade and take one small but aligned action. That's it. One identity shift, one neural input, one embodiment move. But these actions are stacked deliberately, so the rewiring becomes exponential. Let's set the structure. Daily sequence, repeat every morning. Morning signal check. Ask, what identity am I transmitting today? Speak it aloud in a single sentence. Today, I move as the focused builder. Today, I embody the calm closer. Today, I lead with quiet power. Upgrade of the day. You'll be given one upgrade focus, something to install in thought, speech, and behavior. Action of embodiment. One clear, small move to make the identity real. Evening recap prompt. Ask, did I live the upgrade or perform the old code? Where did I reinforce the new frequency? What gets easier now that I've practiced this once? Let's walk through your first 7 days because these lay the neural foundation. Day 1, signal ownership. Upgrade. I no longer wait for external clarity. I create it. Action. Declare your power statement aloud in front of a mirror. Own it. No edits. Evening recap. Did I let the world define me, or did I set the tone? Day 2, micro precision. Upgrade. My power lives in details others overlook. Action. Pick one area, desk, inbox, phone screen, and align it visually with your new identity. Evening recap. What signal did I clean, and how did it shift my state? Day 3, clear boundaries. Upgrade. I protect energy by design, not guilt. Action. Say no to something that's a maybe. Clearly, respectfully, fast. Evening recap. What opened up when I held my line? Day 4, confident expression. Upgrade. I speak from signal, not fear. Action. Share one aligned message, post, email, call, with zero over-explanation. Evening recap. Did I over-soften, or did I speak from truth? Day 5, rapid start. Upgrade. I don't need more time. I need cleaner starts. Action. Set a timer. Start a task you've been delaying. Move for just 3 minutes. Evening recap. What changed the second I moved? Day 6, daily loop break. Upgrade. Patterns don't define me. Actions do. Action. Catch one loop, scrolling, overthinking, avoidance, and interrupt it in real time. Evening recap. Where did I break a loop today, and what did I choose instead? Day 7, identity stack. Upgrade. I celebrate alignment, not outcomes. Action. Name 3 wins, emotional, not just tangible. Feel them. Speak them. Evening recap. What emotion did I tag each win with? That's your first week. Simple, powerful, and aligned. But here's why this challenge is different. You're not being told what to do. You're being trained to decide from identity. You're not repeating habits. You're upgrading signal daily. You're not hoping for change. You're rehearsing the future into the now. As you complete each day, you're installing not just thoughts, but proof. And the brain learns best through proof. By day 10, hesitation drops. By day 15, identity flips. By day 30, you're running the new code by default. Because you've earned it. This is what transformation looks like when it's structured by design, not drama. You've now begun the most important neural compounding cycle of your life. Next, we will ensure these upgrades last by exploring the one thing that makes or breaks every breakthrough: integration. You've just stepped into a 30-day rhythm of daily identity rewiring. And it's working not because the ideas are new, but because you're no longer just consuming. You're installing. And that brings us here to the threshold where most people fail. Not from lack of intelligence. Not from lack of desire. But from lack of integration. Let's define it clearly. Information is what you know. Integration is what you live. And your brain doesn't care what you know. Cares what you do consistently, especially under pressure. So let's install the practices and principles that make this shift stick for life. Step 1. Honor the unsexy reps. Integration is not fireworks. It's repetition. It's doing the identity reps when nobody sees. Repeating the power statement even when it feels robotic. Interrupting the loop even when it's small. Tagging the micro wins even when they don't feel dramatic. Saying no to noise even when no one claps. This is where you go pro. And the moment you stop needing novelty to stay consistent, that's the moment you own the code. Step 2. Detect the bounce-back window. Here's what always happens. You grow. You shift. You elevate. Then something wobbles, and you feel the pull of the old script. This isn't failure. It's physics. Every elevation sends out a signal, and the field will test it. Not because it's cruel, but because it wants to know, is this real, or is this rehearsal? So how do you respond? Don't panic. Don't question the progress. Don't spiral. Instead, say, this is a bounce-back signal. I hold. Then double down on the simple. Respeak your power statement. Run the rapid recoding sequence. Make one move from the new identity fast. Bounce-back windows are not setbacks. They're tests of identity stability. Pass them and your elevation locks in. Step 3. Recommit weekly. Integration doesn't mean never doubting. It means always redeciding. Once a week, ask, who am I still choosing to become? What patterns did I override this week? What identity am I living, not just wanting? Then reaffirm it. In writing, in action, in energy. Because commitment isn't a one-time moment. It's a pattern of reminders. Step 4. Teach it even casually. One of the fastest ways to lock in a new truth is to teach it to someone else. Not formally, casually. Explain a tool you've used. Share a phrase that shifted you. Mention how you moved through resistance last week. When you speak from embodiment, not theory, your nervous system locks it in as identity truth. Because if you can teach it, you've proven you own it. Step 5. Simplify. You don't need new tools. You don't need more frameworks. You need fewer inputs and stronger repetition. Strip your system to this. One power statement. One daily identity. One flywheel loop. One weekly audit. One aligned circle. Simplicity increases signal. And clear signals get installed, not just admired. You've now entered the realm of true change. Not motivational. Not temporary. Not content-based. But integrated. Lived. Felt. Unshakable. You now lead your life from within, not from trend, pressure, or impulse. Next, we will complete your transformation not by adding anything else, but by stepping fully into the identity that's already here and ready to lead. You 2.0. You've done something most never even attempt. You've faced your patterns. You've rewritten the code. You've stopped asking who you need to become and started living it. This is the moment where we stop calling it transformation and start calling it baseline. Welcome to you 2.0. Not an upgrade, not a patch, not a polished version of your old self. You 2.0 is a return to alignment with the version of you that's always been underneath the noise, the hesitation, the loops, and the conditioning. Let's be clear. This isn't a peak state. This isn't a temporary motivation spike. This isn't a highlight reel. This is identity reality. So now we do something rare, something most systems and programs forget to install. We declare it. Because if you don't own the identity shift, your mind will try to reverse it. So let's take that power back. Completely. Deliberately. Here are the 4 anchors that lock you 2.0 into place and ensure the shift becomes permanent. Anchor 1, the final statement. Write this sentence. Speak it. Etch it into your operating system. I am no longer becoming. I have arrived in the identity that leads. This doesn't mean you've stopped growing. It means your growth is now happening from alignment, not from lack. You don't need to earn your own trust. You've proven it. Repeat this when your old self knocks. I'm not evolving into this. I'm operating from it. That closes the loop. You no longer orbit change. You move as change. Anchor 2, the identity audit. Each week, return to 3 questions. What did I normalize this week that used to stretch me? Where did I move from signal instead of strategy? What would have triggered the old self but didn't? This isn't about perfection. It's about recognition. Your nervous system will try to forget your growth. These questions make it visible. Celebrate upgrades like facts, not feelings. You don't need to feel different to be different. You already are. Anchor 3, the 2.0 environment. Your external world must now match your internal identity. Audit your space again, not for clutter, but for congruence. Ask, does my home reflect my clarity? Does my wardrobe reflect my confidence? Does my digital space reflect my focus? Do my conversations reflect my frequency? You 2.0 does not negotiate with misaligned energy in any form. This isn't aesthetic. It's activation. When your surroundings mirror your new standard, behavior becomes effortless. Your environment becomes your ally, and that means you no longer try to stay aligned. You just are. Anchor 4, identity embodiment trigger. Choose one ritual, one phrase, one gesture, one movement. It must be simple, repeatable, and specific. Every time you do it, it signals you 2.0 is online. Examples: a wrist tap with the phrase, "We move now." A mirror glance with the phrase, "This is who I am." A hand over heart with the breath, "Signal is clear." A morning stance in silence, 30 seconds of anchored stillness. This isn't gimmicky. This is neurology. The brain loves pattern recognition, so give it a ritual that reinforces identity every day. When you repeat it, you don't ask if you're ready. You become the version who acts like it. That's how you ensure identity doesn't erode under pressure. It activates. Now let's lock in the truth. You've deleted thought viruses. You've rebuilt scripts. You've collapsed timelines. You've chosen frequency over fear. You've shifted from reaction to creation. And now, you lead from that space. You don't wait for green lights. You are the green light. You don't chase validation. You transmit signal. You don't hope for elevation. You've made it your operating system. This is the Quantum Limitless Method, fully embodied. No longer theory. No longer something you try. No longer something you journal about, vision board, or wait to feel ready for. It's installed. And now, it's time to live it out loud. Not louder in volume, louder in presence. When you walk into a room, the frequency shifts. When you make a decision, it cuts through noise. When you speak, people feel the alignment before they even hear the words. When life gets chaotic, you stay the signal. Because you're not running scripts anymore. You are the code. You're not following confidence. You are the confidence. You're not searching for the answer. You are the answer. So stop trying to remember who you are and start moving as the version that never forgot. You 2.0 doesn't need more information. You 2.0 is done waiting. You 2.0 doesn't negotiate. You 2.0 doesn't beg for permission. You 2.0 doesn't shrink to make others comfortable. You 2.0 leads. You 2.0 signals. You 2.0 creates outcomes that others thought were impossible. And if the old self tries to return, just smile. You've already outgrown that loop. Now live it. Now own it. Now walk as the signal. You've completed the method. You've reinstalled your core. You've recoded your reality. This is not your finish line. This is your new origin point. The quantum limitless life is not ahead of you. It's here, right now, because you are.